3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, Capers? Cape C Free here. Martin, the Thought Junkie. Next to me, I have
Chad, the resident movie nerd.
On this side, we have
Chris, the film school dropout.
And finally,
Ryan, the Collector.
The Collector. All right, guys. So we thought we'd give you a little bit of a refresher about who we are. Oh, God, that pour sounded so amazing.
Oh, that did sound sexy. Yeah, I'm excited.
So sexy. That Beer of the Week is going to be great. But so we all came up with names that kind of matched our identity of who we are, because we all like movies, but we like looking at movies
like
from
our
different
secret superhero names, or like our
these are superhero names.
These are secret identities.
Yes,
they are.
Nice. I didn't even think of it that way.
Oh yeah.
So I just thought of like my government name. Sometimes you have to hide things.
I guess you could look at it like that.
Italian.
That's like Clark Kent hides away from bill collectors. I get it.
Yeah. Clark Kent's
It's
in
like
debt.
there's no Clark Kent here.
So the Thought Junkie here, that's my name, and I've always looked at movies like seeing a movie actually sent me to film school. The importance of that movie and what it did to me, and kind of like how it resonated with my life, that actually sent me to film school. So and it was a very thought-provoking movie. I don't have to say the director because you guys already know who it is.
Shyamalan.
I just look at movies as vessels. They're kind of like timestamps of your life, not only your life, but society as a whole. Like you go back and look at movies in the 50s and you can understand what they were going through and how their perceptions of certain things were. So I've just really been fascinated with the messages that movies can share with us. In my first film, I remember there was I premiered at a film festival, and I remember just this guy sitting there crying and talking to my main actress. And as a writer-director, like witnessing that type of emotional bond these two people had was great. So
yeah, it's powerful. You can bring out those emotions in people.
Yeah.
As a creator, or even as a viewer of movies, like you said, like everybody has personal connections. You can remember, like, a lot of times, like, movies going way back, like where you saw it and who you saw it with, and your reaction to that, and like kind of cultural touchstones. Not even just cultural, just like overall life milestones or touchstones in your own life, especially for people like us who grew up as lovers of cinema, and now we make a career and a living out of it.
Chad, you're next. Why are you who you are?
I'm the resident movie nerd because I just love movies, and I've loved movies my whole life. I love watching them. When growing up, I made a lot of my own movies, and I've just always been obsessed, always reading about movie news and behind the scenes stuff, and watching behind the scenes videos and special features, and just, I don't know, wanting to know as much as possible. And then I moved out here to Los Angeles, and after going to film school and doing all, studying all that, learning more about film history and the techniques and shooting on actual film, which isn't done much anymore. So I'm glad that I got to actually do that and experience that and handle it, feel the physicality of it. Now, moved to LA and start working in the entertainment industry, both film and TV. And I'm currently working on an animated film, which will come out in 2020 for Sony Animation. So
which one is that?
What?
Can you say it?
I mean,
I'm pretty sure you can't say.
I mean, it's been announced. It's been announced. It's called Vivo, and we're doing it with Lin-Manuel Miranda is writing original songs for it. So it'll be exciting. It's been announced, so look out for that in late 2020. So, but anyway, I love movies and love talking about movies and watching movies, and it's great.
So it's safe to say you love movies.
Yes. Right. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I didn't get that part first.
I know. No, that wasn't clear.
Thanks for clarifying.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
So the film school dropout over here, he's actually directed a film that's been on a streaming service. Have you not?
Actually, I've directed like 4, but the
no, but I'm talking about one in particular that you told me about.
Which one did I tell you about?
On Netflix?
We talking about Diamond? Yeah, we're talking about Diamond Dogs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I direct this film called Diamond Dogs. Nice. It's mainly the quick of it. It's mainly about this female car thieves who wind up robbing around people. But it's a fun movie. The thing is, like, I used to actually read the comic books like when I was going to film school, and didn't have that much money. I couldn't do that much in between classes, so I would go to comic book stores and I would read the comic books for the stories. I like the compelling stories. I like the comedy stories.
You like all of them.
The thing about which I think directing, it's a visual medium. It's it's an emotional medium.
To go from paper, like it's so crazy to see something go from paper to on screen and like looking at it. That's
it
the
takes
most surreal
years and it takes millions of dollars
Yes.
all the time, or not millions, but a lot of money, and it takes hundreds of people. And based on what you're saying too, Chris, is like. Yeah, we all watch movies for different reasons. Like you said, for story and stuff, and Martin looks for the social. Me, I'm more of like, I like the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love cinematography and the music and just the way things are directed and shot and how they did these special effects and stuff, and just the story, kind of the behind the scenes of how it was put together. It's like the process and all that. That's what fascinates me. So
And I'm like Edward Norton from the movie The Italian Job. I'll just take a little bit of everything from you guys.
yeah.
Anyone gets that
good
quote.
because we take a lot from you. Ryan,
all right.
Rye.
So
Tell us.
Yeah, let's
Enlighten
go,
us.
Let's go knee deep into the realm of the collector. It's pretty simple. I've just been collecting since I was a kid. I think I was just innately, immediately attracted to comic books when I was very young, and comic book cards as well. And it was more even about the art, but even more just about collecting in and of itself. It's almost like it takes a very special kind of person to want to collect. And I think growing up, there was maybe something about the superhero element to it. And, I got bullied a little bit growing up in school, and I guess you can kind of connect to those superheroes and wish you were one to an extent. But I did stop for a while as I got a little older, and then I started back up again more seriously in 2012, 2013.
Right after Avengers.
Right after the Avengers. And now I'll be honest, I collect more for the financial investment side and flipping, but I enjoy reading a lot of modern comics, so I do collect a lot of those as well. But I love owning these pieces of history that meant so much in the golden age and the silver age of comics, from the 30s to 40s to 50s and 60s and 70s, and that's the Bronze Age. And just the different stories that happen from them, and the meanings behind them, and the social, moral element to how they pertain to society at the time, whether it was World War II or Vietnam or a new president or drugs or sex or race or gender, or just anything that came from the comic books and these great artists and writers from our past. So I guess you could say that is what I take from my enjoyment of collecting, just everything under the sun.
That's great, man. And that's what people like in our 30s, we run into so many of our friends and people that are kind of like lost in life and don't necessarily know what they want to do. Like 30 is a huge milestone where it feels like you have to have everything together and you have to be working towards something, purchasing your house, whatever it might be. And I always tell people, what the hell were you doing when you were 8 years old? What did you love to do when you were 8?
8 years old, yeah, that's a tough one.
Right? But I think looking at you, you've collected when you were a kid, so you're obviously on the right path because you've turned what you did as a child into your profession later in life. So that's huge.
Follow through with those dreams, people.
Definitely.
I know.
Nice.
Follow your dreams. All
So-
right.
No.
That was good, guys.
And I'm actually following my dreams right now with this tasty.
Oh, here we
Tasty.
go. Whoa,
How do you like
wait, wait, you got it. I'm a little sweating on the forehead right now. Damn.
Let me take
What do
this.
you got, Chris?
What you got? That voice
What's our beer of the week, bruh?
Our beer of the week is called Stout at the Devil. It's kind of like a play off of Shout at that song, but I don't want to say the whole name because we might have to pay for the actual rights.
Royalties.
But I can say
Saying the
Stout
title.
at the Devil, right? Because it's Stout, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, it's a Russian Imperial Stout. It's by Evans Brewing Company. It's actually I'm tasting it right now. It pours great.
So there's a laughing devil
A laughing devil who's actually drinking,
On the
holding
can.
a beer
on the can.
through a mug with his tail while pouring it into his mouth.
Now, is
And
his
laughing.
because his tail looks like Nightcrawler's tail? Is that what we're
Ooh,
saying?
connection.
Well,
is
Nightcrawler
to-
gonna
looks like
say
a
yes.
devil, right?
He is.
Yes,
He does.
actually, yes.
And does anyone know who parents Nightcrawler was?
Mystique,
So
And-
no, not Mystique.
No?
Yes, Mystique. Sorry,
Azazel.
Mystique and Azazel. Thank you. I'm curious what the flavor is like.
Actually,
that is
it's-
a dark beer, correct?
Yes.
Describe
It's
it.
really smooth. It's for a dark beer like this. It's the thing is I can't even taste it. I'm surprised it's actually 10% alcohol.
Really?
Yes, it has it has a fudgy.
10%.
It has a fudge taste to it a little bit.
Okay.
And,
Nice.
So it's kind of smooth, like the sensual sounds of Chris.
Smooth jazz.
Smooth jazz.
This is like liquid smooth jazz.
Liquid sex.
Nice. Yeah, that beer. That beer
Awesome.
looks so
It's actually
cool.
really, it's actually really good, and I don't like. I think I told you
Yeah, it's good
before.
stuff.
I'm not a big stout. I'm not a big dark beer person,
Mm-hmm.
but this is actually really good.
I might be
Nice.
changing your life.
Yeah,
I might be when it comes to beer.
You're picking the right ones. Maybe you should.
Man, I love it.
Drink beers with a superhero theme on them. You know?
Right?
That's what my.
All right, Resident Movie Nerd.
Oh, so
Who's our caper of the week?
our caper of the week is our friend Susie Akopian. Hope I'm saying that right, Susie.
Susie!
But yeah,
What up,
Susie,
Susie?
we raise our drinks to you.
We raise our
For-
stout at the Devils to
for
you,
being
Susie.
for being a fan and listening and
for you.
giving feedback and all the good stuff.
Yeah,
So
she wants to be
um,
on this podcast so bad.
I think we
wow.
should let her on. I think we should let her on. She
At some
she
point.
knows her
At
stuff.
some point.
Hey.
Susie, we appreciate you. And
Yeah.
cheers to
Yeah,
Susie.
cheers.
Oh, cheers,
cheers,
Fun,
Susie.
fun fact
Yes.
about Susie that I learned recently: her favorite movie is Braveheart.
Interesting.
Ooh, that's right.
Interesting. I don't know
Well-
if I've met anybody else who said their favorite movie. That's a bold choice.
That's
It's
a
like,
great movie. I mean,
no, it is. It's Best Picture winner,
yeah,
but I mean, it's
yeah.
like a 3-hour epic. It's
Yeah.
it's not a movie you like pop in every
Yeah.
every 2 months to watch. Like
I would like to
or
know
something,
how many
but
times has Susie
It's
seen
great.
Braveheart?
How many
I'm
times-
curious.
Susie,
Susie.
she will text me.
Let
She's,
us know.
she's
Let us
actually
know.
watched
In the
every
theater.
or listened to every single podcast and was texting me today.
That's awesome.
As I was getting ready for this one,
great.
and I was like, wow.
Susie, what is your favorite? I want to know what your favorite quote from the movie is. Mine is, of course, "They can take our lives, but they will never take our freedom."
I mean, that's the
Not
quote
everybody's
everybody
favorite
knows.
quote.
It's-
Who doesn't love that quote? I love
No,
that quote.
it's a great movie, and that's a bold choice,
Yeah.
and I that's a great. It's a great fact.
Yeah.
Then a clap for you, Susie.
There we go. Susie.
Yeah.
Yes. Caper of the week.
April of the week.
They were the week.
Thanks for your contribution to our podcast.
COTW.
Now, that was
All
a
right.
bold choice.
Now
Now
we,
let's go to
turn
the
to the
comic of the week.
Collector,
Okay,
what you got?
so
What you
The
got?
bold
for us?
choice that you made.
So here's the thing. I had to go back home after work because I had brought a different comic when I discovered from one of you guys telling all of us that the DarkPhoenix trailer was dropping tonight, which I believe we're going to hopefully see at some point together and do a little reaction.
Yeah.
I actually was going to bring this comic originally, but it didn't feel quite right yet. It felt like it made more sense for the third X-Men movie. But because of the trailer, it works both ways, so I brought it anyway. So
You are the professional.
I'm the
You
professional.
trust
So
everything you
what
do.
I'm bringing to you is X-Men 134, and this is the first appearance of DarkPhoenix.
Ooh.
So as you can see, we get her first. So Phoenix as Jean Grey, her first appearance is X-Men 101. So 33 issues later, we get her as the Dark Phoenix when she kind of has this element with the Hellfire Club. And joins them. And you might remember that from the X-Men animated series, which Chad, of course,
Oh, I
saw.
wouldn't know.
Chad would not know that.
Nope.
But
Oh,
it's
so-
a beautiful cover, really cool book. This particular book has picked up a lot of steam in the last year with the X-Men Dark Phoenix movie being announced. So,
Get it steam to Phoenix.
oh,
Fire.
it's steamed.
Steam.
So, CGC 9.8, like essentially the nicest copy you'll generally get out there. Those go for probably, I think, about $500 to $600, maybe even $800 now. There was a time where you can get them for $300. So,
Wow.
What
Anyone-
years? What years is this from?
So this is from X-Men 134. Let's see. That would have been, I'm pretty sure, the Bronze Age, somewhere in the 70s. I'm not 100% sure.
Only
what year,
40
but-
cents. Yeah.
Yeah, 40 cents.
Wow.
Dang.
And it's just a cool cover. It's a cool
It is a
book.
cool
It was
cover.
written by Claremont. It might have been John Byrne art. I have to double check on that. But he did a lot of the early X-Men. Very famous artist. And very famous writer, of course, with Chris Claremont. So
Cool.
it's a cool book.
So you'll post a picture of this on the Instagram so
Yep.
people can take a look
We'll
at the
do-
cover.
we'll do.
Yeah.
Chris is
We'll
doing
do-
something right now, so I don't.
Oh, I'm doing something.
Doing something.
Um,
We'll put it all
Yeah,
over
this,
the
this is
Instagram.
tied into the cliffhanger
Yep.
ending of this movie we're about to watch.
And it's
which
just a
is
beautiful
really cool.
cover. You see
Yeah.
the Phoenix behind her, and she's
Badass.
obviously this darker tone to her, an evil tone, and you can tell that you got the X-Men on the left, the Hellfire Club on the right, and there's this battle element to them. So, and she's in the middle of it. So
Are the
yeah.
Hellfire Club like a motorcycle gang or something? Like
No,
what is,
no,
or that's
it's
a Hell's Angels.
It's
Never mind.
a group of mutants who are
Okay.
kind of
Just look like they
evil
got
people.
beard. They got like a ZZ Top thing going on.
Yeah, they're
over there. I
chilling.
don't know.
They're chilling. But
All right.
anyway,
Very
so
cool.
that is
That's awesome.
the Hellfire Club has transformed Phoenix into their Black Queen. Are the X-Men too late to save her or themselves? So that is the little description on the front cover, so it
Nice.
gives you an idea of what's going to
Nice.
happen.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
that is what I brought today.
And I had a question for Chad, but we'll go ahead and get this audio commentary started.
Yeah,
So
start this
then,
bad boy
Chad,
up.
What?
remind me, don't let me forget about this question.
Well, okay.
It's all on you. All right, people. If you are going, we said we were doing X-Men, right?
Yeah,
We
X-Men
said
2. We're doing
X-Men
X-Men 2, X2, X-Men United from 2003.
All right, so if you're watching with us, we're gonna get a countdown 5. We're starting at 0-0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Play.
X-Men.
And
All right.
there we go. Good old 20th Century Fox logo.
We love that logo.
Disney, don't get rid of it.
It better still have the 20th Century Fox logo.
I'm pretty sure
They
Disney
better.
already read it.
Theme written by Alfred
I mean,
Newman.
they can throw Disney in front of it. I don't
is the we're gonna have the X that fades out last.
I'll put that in there.
Yeah.
Disney.
Yes,
I love it.
but barely.
Oh,
It was
great
more
effect.
prominent last time. I feel like
It was, yeah. I guess they decided.
Did we get this Marvel logo in the first X-Men? I don't
We
remember.
did. Maybe.
I don't think we did.
It wasn't Marvel Studios. It's just kind of just.
Oh, no, this is still not Marvel Studios.
No,
Yeah.
not Marvel Studios. Won't be around for another 5 years
Yeah.
or so after this.
Wow. So we get the little Patrick
Love
Stewart.
his voiceover.
Oh, it's great.
Oh yeah.
So as we look at this voiceover, we talked about with Ryan that comic that you brought. Chad, at the end of this movie, it meant nothing to you.
Oh, I didn't know. No,
You had no idea.
I didn't know what it
sucks,
meant.
man.
I don't know any of
I'm
it. Like I
sorry.
said, usually I experience these stories for the first time watching the movies. I know nothing about the comic backgrounds, nothing like that. I usually need other people to explain it to me or the internet.
Or the internet.
No, and that's the one thing I like about the movies, especially some of these filmmakers that can like tell these stories like this and bring it into the real world that people haven't seen these stories. They can still relate to them.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like a guy in a
Yo.
spandex.
I love,
You know.
Right.
I love how they do the openings for these three. They have this like genetic element to it, which plays right into the fact that they're genetically altered mutants. So I always thought that was pretty cool that they did that with these openings.
Is this a new theme? I think this is a new theme.
I was telling Ryan, I think
Yes.
earlier that this same theme is in Days of Future Past.
Right, but it starts in this one. Michael Kamen did the music for the first movie, and he ended up dying later the year of this movie, so he did not compose this movie. This was done by was it John Ottman, who also was the co-editor. He's an editor / composer.
And that's great too. You look at this picture, and we're in a White House now, and the first presidential photo they show is Lincoln on a film that talks about so much like prejudice and oppression. Think about what Lincoln has done for the cause. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
And we just got a little sight
Message.
on the character that's about to be the prominent mutant in this early scene,
Yeah.
who is Nightcrawler, of course. First appearance was in Giant Size X-Men number 1, 1975, when they introduced the new X-Men right before into the series, but into a giant size version in its own book.
So still, and the cool thing about this too, Nightcrawler, like I watched these films and I remember how badass these characters were on their own in their cartoons. Nightcrawler was never this badass in the cartoon, if I remember correctly. This is actually, for me, it's an exaggerated version of who he was, but it makes total sense that someone with these powers can do exactly what he could do. Like, he makes Xazel look like a wimp.
Oh yeah.
I always loved this scene. I thought this scene was so cool. This movie came out, and I used to like pop in the DVD and like watch this opening. I thought this was one of the this is one of my favorite movie openings.
Well,
Yeah.
it's jarring
For
too
a
to
while.
think that one mutant could have such an easily, it's
In the
it's
White
easy to
House,
take over
yeah.
the White House. I mean, they really have nothing to do.
Right.
This is how you kick off a movie, though. This is how you.
Oh
kick
yeah.
off
Oh,
a movie.
absolutely.
That's
You raise the stakes. Yeah.
For us as X-Men fans, we look at this and we say, okay, this is badass. But for people who aren't X-Men fans, they look at this and they realize how dangerous these mutants can be. You're right.
Yeah, and this builds a whole fear. Like you have this like they have this prejudice against them in the world that people with mutants this is one of their biggest fears, that they could take over and like attack and do what normal people can't.
Right.
Yeah, maybe I thought it's so cool because like at the time this came out, I was like watching 24. I was on to 24, just the president like counter terrorism and
He was in 24 too.
That guy was in 24. Yes.
Oh,
Secret Service
the
agent.
Secret Service agent?
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah.
black dude?
Curtis.
What's his name?
Was his name
Curtis,
Curtis on the
yes.
show? I didn't. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that was him. But yeah, but this was like kind of like 24, but with like mutants in it all of a sudden. It was like awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, we learn later that this was actually all a setup, and that Nightcrawler is being controlled essentially, and he's not doing this on his own volition. So that's what leads into the plot of the movie.
This is like Quicksilver almost.
Yeah.
Like time slowing down as he's like going, and
I guess it feels like that. I mean, it's clearly teleportation.
Yeah,
speed,
Brian's,
but it does have
it's
that
all
vibe.
teleportation.
Bryan Singer would go back to that technique 11 years after this. Wow.
I love this actor.
And expand
Alan Cumming?
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, at the time I mostly knew him from GoldenEye. As Boris.
That's right, Boris.
Yeah, well, we have a couple GoldenEye people in this movie.
When I first saw this, I thought that was Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, I could see it kind of looks like Paul Rubens a little bit, yeah.
Mutant freedom now. We just watched this dagger hit the table and the president sees this mutant freedom now. Boy, I tell you, like, if you look at the X-Men from one point of view, you can think of them as vigilantes and you can think of them as Chris.
Even this, you could look at them as in this, the kind of be freedom fighters or even terrorists, depending on your perspective, because they're fighting against a government who is against them, but this attack is just going to make the government even more against them, which you'll find out is the actual plan. But
and from their creation, I mean, Stan Lee, it was all about prejudice. I mean, he created them to be the anti-prejudicial characters. I mean, they represent the minority, so I think that's what's great about them. And really quick, I'm sure I mentioned this before in one of the other movies we watched, but Wolverine was just, we're watching him right now. He's essentially on this journey to find his past and his history and what's going on. His first appearance was in 1974, Hulk 181. First full appearance, first cameo was Hulk 180 right before that. Interesting thing to note, the original art for those two books burnt up in a fire, and I believe in Marvel in the early days.
Oh, wow.
Had those still existed, we would have been talking, I don't even want to know, so much money.
Worth more than Superman and Batman one?
Well, no. I mean, it depends on the grade and the condition, of course, but I think we would have been talking over $1 million potentially. So, to put that into perspective, the cover for Amazing Spider-Man 300 by Todd McFarlane, the first appearance of Venom, that sold at auction for, I believe, $657,000.
And this is the actual
cover?
like the art,
the original art.
like
so
the
there's only
painting.
one.
Oh wow,
just original one piece of art. That's what it makes it very rare, so very special. Yeah, but those.
And it's just a cover.
Well, I think the last page of Hulk 180 might be in existence, which is the first ever appearance in cameo form of that page. But the cover for Hulk 181, that burnt down in the fire. So
with
doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately.
Wolverine, are we going to try to wrap our head around as he finds out a lot more of his past? This will be wrap our head around the continuity of the timeline for these movies, or what happens after this? Because I know it gets a little confusing.
It gets reset eventually. So
it does. That's true.
Okay, I have a bone to pick with the people who really give that. Like, is it really that important? Like the timeline? It's like one simple thing. You know what I mean?
No, I know, but it's just like
yes and no. As a person who watches movies and wants to follow the timelines, because I was actually really into the fact that they started doing a continuous timeline. I love the fact that with this movie they try to do what the MCU is doing now, which is pretty much make a comic book structure.
But the MCU has been much better about keeping their continuity.
Oh yeah, the course of but they learned their mistakes from X-Men.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true.
But if you think about it, really, like, how many people want to know what the timeline between Ant-Man and Avengers is?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So we noticed here we saw Halle Berry as Storm returning, and her would she have a Kenyan accent in the first movie, which is no longer around in this one. They decided to drop it, Scarlet Witch style.
She's been in America for a little while. She could
sure.
Right. So it's real. I think we need to point out that for a long time, this was considered the best superhero, if not the best, one of the best superhero films ever out.
Oh yeah,
between this and Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Look at that, 2 sequels.
This was the year before Spider-Man 2, actually.
Agreed.
And the thing is that made this different because obviously the first X-Men was the first like real ensemble superhero film that was successful, and this, I believe, this movie is like, this is even more of a perfect ensemble because everyone plays a different part in the story, but it all connects and it all wraps itself together. But everyone all the X-Men have their own storylines, which all work together.
So Halle Berry, actually, they rewrote the script on this to give her more lines because she had just won the Oscar for Monsters Ball for Best Actress. And so she decided to, come back for this, and I'm sure she got a pay bump, but she also got more lines out of it, too.
So I'm just going to go down the list really quick. Rogue, Avengers Annual 10 first appearance, Iceman, X-Men number 1, actually, Pyro, X-Men 141. So, just to give the comic people out there, those were the first appearances of those three characters. Were
X1, Ice, that's cool.
Yeah, X-Men number 1 was she was actually called Marvel Girl, but it was Jean Grey, Xavier, Magneto, Iceman, Cyclops, Beast. Oh, I'm sorry, not Beast. Well, he's a human form at that point, but yeah, technically Beast. But yeah, get some of those early characters right in the beginning. But they did a nice mix between newer characters and older ones in these movies, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like the fun fact, which I just know this. If you do watch Fear of the Walking Dead, Pyro is one of the lead characters in this season. That's currently on right now. He's the guy who makes beer.
Now, okay, so everybody just froze. Now, Xavier doesn't actually stop time. What does he actually do? What's happening here?
He manipulates their minds, and he's stopping them from just doing anything. He's freezing their minds.
I see.
As I take it, right?
Yes, yeah. He can, which he did in the first one when he was talking to Magneto. He stopped everything. He actually took control of their minds. This is the first time where he stopped everything.
This is the first time this happens a lot more, and it's so crazy to think that if you go all the way to Logan, suddenly the same thing, him controlling. One of the big premises in this movie is him essentially killing people with Cerebro.
Right.
He didn't even need Cerebro to kill people when it comes to Logan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it lets you know how powerful Professor X is.
Well, that's the thing. There's something called an Omega level mutant. DarkPhoenix is that. Magneto, I believe, is that. I think Xavier is that. But
yes.
Yeah, there's these special mutants that have extra special powers that make them stronger than most others, so they can really do some damage. Which you learn a little bit more about in the X-Men 3. They kind of talk about it, but yeah.
And for those, I think I saw somewhere that all the people in that scene that were frozen were actually all trained in professional mimes.
Yeah, that helps.
So that would help, right?
That helps. Just think about how there's a lot of movies that use that technique. The Matrix movies, obviously, they freeze the Matrix and all the whole crowd freezes around them, and I just feel like you've seen that in a lot of different movies around this time because it is kind of a cool imagery to do in a movie.
Yeah, and it actually sets up because they use it later on too, and then towards the end of the film.
So we got Famke Janssen there back as however you say her name as Jean Grey. Another,
I'm sure Susie will text me and say this is how you say.
Okay,
she's every single podcast she sent me something saying
it's a different, but I'm just she's another Golden Eye alum for all of us who love Golden Eye.
Yes, that's right.
Xena on a top, another great.
That's right. So, hey, if you want to go James Bond, Halle Berry's another.
That's true. Year before this, that's right. Die Another Day. Yes.
So we're now being introduced to Brian Cox, who plays the infamous Colonel William Bill Stryker.
But now in the comics, he was not he was not in the army, right? Stryker was a Christian televangelist. He was leading a crusade against mutants, but they decided not to go that way with the character in this because they didn't want to obviously offend any religious groups or anything. So that almost ties it more into what we've talked about before, with the themes of how X-Men is kind of an allegory for homosexuality and stuff like that. Yeah. So if they had gone the more the religious route, that would have been even more apparent than the military. But
he's Colonel Stryker, so at some point he must take some part in the army or something, I imagine. But so he appeared in a comic called X-Men: God Loves, Man Kills from 1982. So that's essentially a newer, a different takeoff from the X-Men series, which of course in almost all comics there eventually is some sort of a takeoff series. There's the Astonishing X-Men, or that actually might have been Spider-Man, but every series has multiple different kinds of storylines that the artists and writers and the publishers separate from. So I guess he appeared in that for the first time and not a copy of maybe just X-Men, the original one. But
Brian Cox is great though. And now this senator Bruce Davison now this is not he died in the first movie,
this
right?
This is Mystique pretending to be.
So
Mystique, and she's been playing the role of Senator Kelly this entire time between the movies.
Yeah, wouldn't he have to go to meetings and have political obligations?
She has right now. In this scene, she literally just found out where they're holding Magneto at. They found out that Stryker has access to Magneto.
Do you remember 2 presidents ago?
So Mystique, of course, her first cameo was in Miss Marvel 16. Then she had a second cameo in Miss Marvel 17 as Nick Fury. So she wasn't herself; she was Nick Fury in that one. And then her first full appearance, which is the big book, that's the one that sells for a lot of money, is Miss Marvel 18. So she first appeared in the Miss Marvel series, which is interesting, with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Now this actress,
Rico.
What's her mutant name?
Lady
Deathstrike.
Right. I actually have her comic, and I could have brought it, and I wish I did.
Yeah, because this is the only time you're going to see her.
I know.
So.
Daredevil 197, believe it or not. But that's because her past is with Daredevil. She and Wolverine. I guess she dated Wolverine, but her name's... one second.
That was Wolverine's.
That
was Wolverine's really big love interest, right? One of his only ones.
In the sequel to Wolverine, so her name's Yuriko Ayama, and she eventually becomes Lady Deathstrike. But she only appeared as Yuriko in Daredevil 197, so she clearly does have a big connection to Daredevil because that's when she.
Well, I knew her when I saw this, but wait, what about Wolverine? Or is it the Wolverine? The one that was like 2013. The Wolverine was Yuriko in there?
No.
Different character.
That must have been a different character. But there is a Lady Deathstrike. There is a connection to Wolverine, though.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, in the animated series,
I remember. That's why I know her from.
Yeah, she has. She has.
So we got the flash of Mystique's eyes in the Senator's eyes at the end of that scene, just so to remind everybody, it's really Mystique in disguise. Now we're back in the X Mansion. Is that what they call it? Is their name is the X Mansion?
They call it the School of the Gifted.
School of the Gifted.
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of those exterior shots, establishing shots, are reused from the first movie. Just save them some money. And so again, this movie was all filmed on stages and on location up in Canada. I think both Vancouver and maybe Toronto too. So I think most of the X-Men movies are filmed in Canada.
Bobby seems a little more jealous than usual right now for some reason.
Which seems normal.
Because he's trying to hit on Rogue. He's trying to put a move on Rogue.
He's not trying to put a move on Rogue, his little daughter.
Was it this one?
Did you not just see him try to kiss her?
Was it this one or the first one where he figures out how to do the ice kiss, but it doesn't end up working, but he thinks it will when he kisses Rogue?
It's this
one. That's what I thought. Yeah. That was a mistake.
So they originally were supposed to bring back Wolverine's brother. You don't find out he's he's his brother in the first movie. They're supposed to bring back Sabretooth and Toad, but there was already too many mutants packed in, so they ended up cutting them out.
So for the people who don't work in Los Angeles, and when you see a movie like this, and you're like, why didn't they bring back this person? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do this and that? And sometimes studios actually make these decisions sometimes and add in these characters, but then they have to take them out for a runtime.
Yeah, it could be a salary dispute, a contract thing, could be scheduling issues. There's all creative differences. There's so many reasons.
Or they could shoot them in the story, and because of story cutting down the movie,
it gets edited down.
They decide to cut them out.
That happens too.
That happens a lot.
They filmed a deleted scene at some point in this movie with when the bad Cerebro and Stryker repurposes it and it's affecting the mutants. They actually filmed a scene with somebody playing Gambit being affected by it. You see him from the back playing cards, but that ended up getting cut out.
I haven't read enough of the early X-Men comics. I don't know for sure. I don't remember there being. I don't know if there was a love triangle between, but in the animated series there was I think there was a love triangle between Cyclops and X-Men and Jean Grey. So I guess they decided to take pull upon that for the movies.
And I will say in this movie, yes. Cyclops gets taken out of the picture, which you'll see and talk about. Which, so it kind of build the whole Wolverine Jean Grey love story.
So now we're into
all you Cyclops fans get pissed off. Like my brother, he's a big Cyclops fan. That's one reason he didn't like this movie that much.
So now we're in.
I thought Cyclops.
We're in Magneto's plastic prison. It's pretty cool, kind of very Hannibal Lecter kind of vibe.
Bathroom break number 1.
You've been drinking for an hour and a half.
And we get this similar scene in Days of Future Past. So that's right, they bring back the plastic prison for that one too. But this is the first time I get to see it. So
this is be it Magneto being able to control everything metal. Every time they go down there, they have to go through a metal detector to make sure there's no metal in them whatsoever.
Although I'm pretty sure there's metal in Stryker's glasses there, but
No, everything, even the guns. Well, I mean,
but I do agree.
They're supposed to be plastic, but
it looks like metal.
I don't know.
That might have been missed.
They should have told him to wear his contacts on the day he comes to visit the prison. But no, it's so many great actors in these movies. Even actors who had been established, like Ian McKellen or Brian Cox or Patrick Stewart. But then, this is still pretty close to the beginnings of Hugh Jackman's career. I'm not sure. Do you guys remember if he did any movies in between the first X-Men and this one?
He started doing some of those rom-coms. He did the one with what's her name? Ashley Judd.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Van Helsing was after this.
Didn't he do Swordfish?
Huh?
Swordfish?
He wasn't.
That was with Halle Berry.
Yep, with Halle
Berry.
Berry.
That was the year. That was a couple of years before this, or a year before this, I think. So he's still pretty new, though. Still rising star in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is one of the bigger movies, but she's been known for a while. She was doing a lot of smaller movies, but she was known.
So Wolverine loves smoking the stogies, and I'll never forget. About 4 years ago, I met Joe Rubenstein, who was the interior. No, I think he might have been the cover artist for Wolverine #1 limited edition from 1982, and that's when I first met him about 3-4 years ago. And I had him do a sketch cover for me on the comic because it can enhance the value. And for whatever reason, he did a stogie in Wolverine's mouth on the cover. I didn't ask him to do that, but
very cool.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So I didn't understand why, but now I get it because I guess Wolverine loves cigars. So
wait, so he's a sketch cover? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's something I kind of learned when I was doing a lot of the signature stuff back in the day to flip comics. If you have the artist that it was important to the comic, prevalent to it, do a sketch of the character on the comic, it really can add significant value sometimes. Because it's essentially original art, and they don't do it for cheap a lot of the time. Some of them do still, but
right.
So yeah.
At this time, we're watching Professor X. He's using Cerebro. He's searching pretty much just with Cerebro. He can pretty much search throughout the world. It kind of magnifies his powers to search throughout the world, throughout just Earth. If he's searching for somebody.
It's crazy. I mean, he's so powerful when he uses Cerebro. It's unbelievable.
He's powerful without Cerebro,
right?
But just to be amplified.
Yeah. Well, can I point out something interesting? So, we don't get Beast in these movies, correct? We don't see him.
The third one.
We hear you see him on TV.
And yet, in the revamped X-Men series, it's Beast early on. Hank McCoy that creates it. So it's kind of funny that we don't get those connections.
Well, the thing is, this is one of the filmmaker things. The reason we got Nightcrawler is because of the success of the first one. Mm-hmm. It's budget.
Right.
The Beast is, he's fully blue. He's fully fur. You do actually see a cameo of Hank McCoy before he becomes Beast in this movie because you'll see him on TV.
Not played by Kelsey Grammer though.
Not played by Kelsey Grammer.
Before they cast him,
and
he's so small.
He'll just be Hank McCoy, and that's the character that becomes Beast. But yes, Beast is one of the original X-Men.
Yeah.
So,
speaking, and he's one of the first characters you see in the X-Men the animated series that Chad hasn't seen, and Ryan Collector, you and I were at Long Beach Comic Con, and remember how I was trying to figure out which comic book picture I wanted that guy to sign. What was his name?
Larry Houston.
Larry Houston, yeah. Yep. Trying to figure out what I wanted Larry Houston to sign, and for some reason I was drawn to Beast. Gambit's my favorite character, but you know what? I'll get Beast. So I had him sign the Beast photo, and I realized, as Thought Junkie, Beast was probably the most philosophical guy in this entire series. That first episode, you see him in jail reading a book by, I forgot what the book was, but he's such a pacifist. So as I get older, it makes sense for me to gravitate towards Beast more, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Even though Gambit's my favorite, but
this we're watching. What's her name? Lady Death. But this is Mystique, though, right?
Yes.
Lady Deathstroke? Is that her?
Deathstrike.
No. Is this Mystique right now?
Yeah,
Mystique.
No, here she is. Yeah, now we're getting our first look at Mystique in this movie. I think we mentioned this during the first one, but always nice to see Rebecca Romaine.
Beautiful Rebecca Romaine.
And we will see her in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time we'll see actual Rebecca Romaine.
Really cool.
Blue, yes.
We were teenagers when this movie came out.
Big time.
What had we known her from before this?
Being married to John Stamos.
Yeah. No, she's a model.
Oh, there's a lot of. Look, there are a lot of Easter eggs. There was Maximoff in there with a two
Remy,
representing the Maximoff twin.
So what we're talking about right now is Mystique is looking through a computer program, essentially to get Eric Selvig, otherwise known... Oh, wait, no, that's Avengers. I'm an idiot. To get Magneto out of her plastic prison. So she's doing research, and that's where Chad was kind enough to see that there were little Easter eggs for other things.
There are a bunch, I think, if you freeze frame it. But I did spot Maximoff,
That's
who,
awesome.
of course, is Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, who, now is being part of the Avengers, but Quicksilver has joined the X-Men universe as of Days of Future Past, so...
And she also just got the schematics for Cerebro, which will play later on.
So here we go. Yeah, and speaking of how powerful Charles Xavier's mind is, I think we brought this up during the first one, but I watched Legion, that show on FX, which is about David, who is Professor Xavier's son, and he also has very powerful
Spoiler
mind.
alert, bro.
Well, it's been on for a couple seasons now, and it's a very trippy show. But
tell them
it's
to end
really
the Lost,
cool.
Chad. Tell them to end the Lost.
Okay, we have Lady Deathstrike walking into the room. The real Lady
No capes
Deathstrike.
in that one.
And Mystique's in there. She's getting this paperwork, and
Now we have the real Lady
da, da, da,
Deathstrike.
da.
This is like, we saw this scene first, and then we saw it again in Days of Future Past, right? With what's his name, Tyrion?
That's
Yes,
right. They did do this.
yes.
Yeah,
Where they actually
that's
changed
right,
the,
with Peter
character
Dinklage.
from,
It's almost the same situation. Now, this actress Kelly Hughes, she was in some things like the Scorpion King.
Can't
She was
remember
in
that.
that one.
She's
with-
my
with
top 10
Dwayne "The
for
Rock"
sure.
Johnson.
When I was
Yes?
younger, she's in my top 10. Oh, yeah. Especially, I was big into like the street racing scene, so import models. Oh, man.
Now you
Kelly
remember what
was my
she's?
number
I
one.
believe she's Hawaiian. I think she's from Hawaii.
Right.
Now this movie came out in May 2003. So we were still in high school, I think, at that point, right?
Yeah.
And this was big. This is a big
It's just
movie.
a-
2003 was actually. Oh yeah, it's gonna be
That's
trippy for this janitor seeing himself as Mystique walks by dressed like him.
Call back to Terminator 2.
Yeah,
First time I saw it.
But
TV.
no, this movie was big when it came out. This movie opened to $85 million, which is really big, and it grossed a lot of money. Outgrossed the first one. This was actually the widest release ever when this released in May 2003. This sounds small by tasting. It opened in a little over 3,700 theaters. And it opened simultaneously in 93 countries.
Wow.
And at the time, that was the biggest movie release of all time.
I feel like every movie excelled past the next one.
Oh, it does.
every time.
Now it's like
From, the early
it's like
2000s.
200th something in wide release in the past 15 years. Like
it's
movies
crazy.
open in the 40. Just to give you Capers an idea, movies open on about 4,500 screens. Is the biggest ones of all time now. I think like Despicable Me 2 or something is actually the widest release of all time right now or something. But it gets these records keep getting set. But yeah, this was one of the biggest releases of all time when it came out. So it made a lot of money and did well, very critically well, and just it even maybe surpassed its predecessor.
Yeah.
So now they're in Boston, which is great. If you Capers look on the the image on your screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see my avatar has a Boston Red Sox hat on. I'm usually wearing it. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm a Boston guy. I went to Boston University, so it's cool that they're in Boston in an old church, even though they didn't film it there.
And I went to UMass Amherst, so
Oh, yeah,
I definitely
yeah,
have
yeah.
that connection too.
Hey, how's your quarterback guy doing right now?
All right, let's not talk. Let's not get into
Tom Brady.
Hey, let's not get into Tom Brady stuff. There's some struggles. Still a lot of season to go. All right.
My Dolphins gonna be
Hey.
playing them soon enough.
Oh,
so
this
see how they
weekend,
get
this
down.
weekend.
Doing just as good as the Giants.
So we
Yeah,
got
sadly.
Alan Cumming again as Nightcrawler. Now, there was some apparently Neil Patrick Harris auditioned for this, but didn't get it.
Because Neil Patrick couldn't speak German.
Right, Alan Cumming
couldn't.
is fluent in German, and so because it's a fluent character, Kurt Wagner, and we just heard him speaking German and stuff, and he's great in this.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He was perfectly casted. There's no doubt about it.
I feel like even the beer. The reason I picked this beer because I was so in awe, doing a little bit of research about Nightcrawler's character. And if you really think about it, you have someone here that looks like a devil, can literally scare you. He's the epitome of fear. How do you combat that? You make him the nicest character
And he's really
ever.
religious.
Sure.
He's
Right.
like
Oh yeah,
really
he's
religious,
really
yeah.
religious. Yes.
He
He actually lives in this church.
now it's too
Found
bad
him
he-
in a church. They found him in a church.
Right.
You know?
It's too bad he didn't come back for sequels, but I guess he, the makeup, he spent 7 hours a day getting this makeup, as you're seeing it close above it now, the ridges and just it's like 3-dimensional makeup on most of his body. It was a lot. So
It's amazing what these actors go through for that. I just can't even comprehend that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the mark which earlier we've seen on Magneto.
On the back of his
This
neck.
is what they use to control the mutants. They use this
William Stryker.
William Stryker has found a way because he's been experimenting on mutants.
Now, also, like Ian McKellen is openly gay.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Cumming is actually openly bisexual, or too. So he, so you have two of the main actors in this movie
Bryan
are
Singer, the director,
and obviously, Bryan Singer is openly gay as well. But so you have a lot of people involved who, are probably very much in tune with some of the bigotry in society and stuff that the X-Men were probably created to help kind of represent and everything. So they can lend their personal experiences to the making of the movie.
That's great, right? You when you working in Los Angeles, like you always hear about people talking about their passion projects and the things that they really cling to. Like you have to fully invest yourself into whatever project you're doing, and it only makes sense that they invested themselves into this project. Yeah.
And this guy, he's the human remote. That's his mutant.
I want that power. Actually, they have that. Don't they have stuff like that now? You just blink and it changes the channel. I mean, now we can sit here and ask Alexa to change the channel. Or
it's one of the mutant kids sitting there watching TV late at night. He just blinks his eyes and the channels change. It's it's a fun little caveat to see that the school is mainly, if you remember from the first. Alexa's chiming in.
We accidentally woke up Alexa.
The school is mainly like a bunch of mutant kids who are just orphans pretty much, and they just live here.
Yeah.
So some of them have just like little mutant abilities. Some of them have just like they probably have some extra fur in their hand. Some has just all kinds of things, but it's like, but they're all, I guess, accepted at this school in this one like safe space.
It's like finding your favorite group of friends at high school. Like you cling on to them because you're so much different than everyone else. That's what the X-Men is.
Oh, I was gonna say, I have still the whole collection of like the X-Men 92 Fleer 93 cards, and it will amaze you how many mutants there are and just the different powers they have. It's insane. I mean, literally everything you can imagine. So,
no. And this is where you see the security for this prison.
Pretty high tech stuff here. It's like Mission Impossible trying to get in there.
Yeah, and the thing is, you mess up a little bit, it's curtains.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would even be possible to build a huge facility like this just out of plastic.
Really?
I'm sorry. In reality, they would probably just have them taken
There's
out.
metal, plenty of metal in that.
Well, the bearings can be wood, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. It would take some really clever engineering, I'm sure. I don't know how any electronics would work.
We can shoot a missile out of the sky from a satellite.
Well, I think it's impossible to make all your electronics. Like, I don't even know how they'd light the place.
Well, I mean,
you need metal to conduct electricity. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about function. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Functionality.
Copper is copper metal.
Copper's metal, right? That's a metal.
Yeah.
Well, but we don't know how far this lights could be so far away that he can't.
That's probably true.
So
this reminds me. Yeah,
hold on. He was able to turn that
bridge.
Satellite in X-Men First Class. Mm-hmm. So Magneto's power is actually.
I mean, he was able to lift a bridge. But I mean, so
there's always a bridge.
There's a whole bridge that he lifted.
That's true. Well, maybe he was true. Those were his younger days, though. Maybe he's not.
No, actually, it's in X3, so it's his older days.
Oh, okay.
But
that's true.
Oh, I was thinking of the whole state,
the stadium,
the whole stadium, and
oh, that's right.
That was Days of Future Past.
Well, the thing is, it could also mean he gets to have a little piece of the metal close to him, and he could probably hold the rest because it conducts. Metal conducts. So.
Yeah. I was going to say that the scenes of Charles and Eric Magneto talking in the prison. Do you guys? I don't know if you guys remember this. I think we talked about this maybe during the first movie, but do you guys remember the very first teaser for this? It was a trailer they cut specifically for Comic-Con in 2002, and it started with Magneto saying, "Does it ever wake you in the middle of the night?" And it was from the first movie. Then it goes into that. It just is the coolest. And they'd only been filming the movie for about a month, I think, when they cut that for Comic-Con, 2002.
Yeah.
And it was just the coolest. And it showed the raid on the mansion, which we haven't seen it in the movie. And he goes, "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Yeah. And it was like the coolest, really cool. Like Comic-Con preview. Mm-hmm. And Eric, what have you done? And that was in there too. And anyways, look it up on YouTube. It's great.
Dude,
it's up to something.
This is shot on film, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, it's 35 millimeter.
Like I look at this and the darks
And this-
don't seem that dark.
This cinematographer Newton Thomas Siegel has shot pretty much every Bryan Singer movie. So he shot all the X-Men movies that Bryan Singer directed,
Wow.
And
plus
this,
all his others.
and this is Stryker's master plan because he's been controlling Magneto. Magneto told him everything about the school, and so they just trapped. The Omega level Professor X.
Yeah.
And Cyclops has got a little like Neo from the Matrix thing going on.
yeah.
Cyclops is
He's got like the
great right
long,
now.
it's like the long black trench coat and like his glasses almost look like Neo's sunglasses kind of thing. He's getting into these fight scenes now. Ooh.
Yeah.
This is the first X-Men movie Ian McKellen made after doing all the
Lord
of the Rings movies, actually.
And this is, it's a great fight scene. You see the power of Lady Deathstrike, and you get Cyclops taken out. So later on, we can build on this love scene, this love affair between Jean Grey and Wolverine. Everything connects later on, but right now, this is Stryker striking against the the mansion. And it plays in the schematics that Mystique found earlier in Stryker's lab because he's already planning this.
Right. So Stryker is a great villain.
Yes.
Like for me, I'm looking at this and I remember, Chad, you were talking about that Comic-Con trailer and how huge and impactful it was in our lives. Like watching the cartoon, like the mansion was like, when you're playing tag with your friends, you have that one designated spot that's like the safe spot where you can't. That's what the mansion was. So to have someone infiltrate the mansion like this and literally take everyone
all
out,
the kids with darts and stuff. But
who's
this one that can run through walls?
This is Kitty Pryde.
Oh, not Ellen Page and not Judy Greer.
Not
Judy
Judy
Greer's
Greer.
not in this movie. Capers, if you listen to our commentary on the first X-Men, Chris led us to believe that Judy Greer was out of focus in the background as Kitty Pryde. That is not correct.
Because out of focus, she looked like Judy Greer.
That's not correct. We don't get Judy Greer in any Marvel movies till Ant-Man, I believe. So we got a little ways to go.
That's it.
Who's the one who screamed?
This was a rated R. There's a rated R cut of this, right?
Originally, the MPA rated this movie R because they got a little violent with Wolverine taking out this infiltration team. Who's the one who? What's the screamer's name? Starscream? No, that's Transformers.
That's Transformers. She's just a
Starscream.
she was just a
Banshee.
She must be related to him.
Well,
It's probably Banshee, but she was just
Banshee was a guy.
Who?
no.
She must
This
be
was
related
just
to
a
him.
student. It could be, but it was just one of the stray students.
I had no idea Azazel and Nightcrawler. Like I was thinking about this earlier today. I was like,
Very possible.
it would be great to see like the family tree. I know it's out there somewhere, but like in these movies to see the family tree of all these mutants because they all have to be related, right? And then the fact that you said Azazel was Nightcrawler's dad, it made so much sense. So that girl, the screamer, has to be related to Banshee.
It's possible, but
it's very possible. It makes sense.
They have in this thing. They have a bunch of just students there. They're just stray students.
Is this,
Here's Colossus.
Yeah. Who now we've gotten used to watching in the Deadpool movies.
Well,
yes,
right?
and
we can see what he looks like. Terminator 2 from the villain in this movie with the CGI and everything.
Oh yeah,
That's really cool.
But
Our beer is Russian. Our beer of the week is Russian.
Good call.
It's
Good
just
call.
like our Colossus.
Good call. Makes sense.
And it is a tall carrot, so it is a Colossus beer.
This is a great action scene. This is a great set piece, like the White House movie. This whole kind of invasion of the mansion.
Yeah.
Which they thought was a safe space.
Right. That safe space when you're playing tag.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See the
What do you call that? That's home base? No, what do you call it?
Yeah, I don't know. Home base or something? I'm not even
Capers
sure.
in the comments. Let us know what that safe space is when you're playing the game tag when you're little kids.
DMZ? I don't know.
That's called base.
Base, home base.
So I believe I think they're bringing him back, Colossus, for the Dark Phoenix movie.
Well, if they, I don't know if that because the thing is the actor, he's actually in X3.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there was some kind of contract dispute that he was originally supposed to be in Deadpool, and then they wound up recasting.
Right.
Yeah, they did recast.
I thought I read something where he's going to be in an upcoming movie. The actor himself. I don't even know if he's going to be Colossus.
Well, I don't know if he's coming back, but
I thought I read something,
he was supposed to be in Deadpool. He was in the original camera tests and the original for Deadpool, and then I'm not sure what the happened, but
Wolverine claws
This is
right
why
through the
it
guy's
was
foot.
originally
Now
rated R.
Wolverine got shot with a tranquilizer just like all the kids, but he didn't go down.
His
He
immunity
didn't go
is
down.
down.
yeah, well,
His
his power's healing, so it's probably
Well,
like
all the
healing
other
essence in
mutant
there.
kids got tranked.
They don't have healing powers.
They don't have-
Yeah,
They don't have
I
healing
guess, but
powers.
it still does that go into his bloodstream? No,
It doesn't matter. He's gonna.
Oh.
He
Alright.
immediately regenerates from anything that would.
Well, it must not be a strong enough dose.
No.
Night scene, helicopter.
Yep. I can't tell if the ground's wet though, but well, here
That ground's wet.
They're running through the sewers. Yeah.
It's the escape route. Colossus is the grown kid.
So, Chad, since you haven't seen the X-Men animated series, you know that moment where you're Chad. That moment where Wolverine is like, "You helped them," and he says that to Colossus. I'm like, Wolverine, you're an idiot. That's Colossus. If anyone's going to be able to help you destroy these guys, it's going to be
Come
Colossus.
fight with me, right? Because
Yeah.
he's like impenetrable too, right? Oh, Wolverine jumping down from above. Wolverine kills the most people out of all these movies.
Yes, and the thing is, it's funny because like right now, Wolverine's the only adult at the school because everyone else is on missions.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
By the way, I think I
Storm,
figured out-
Storm and Jean Grey. This is kind of like the whole ensemble thing where everyone plays a part,
Yeah.
and
And this
so-
expands upon the first one. You were talking
Yeah.
about the ensemble of the first film.
yeah, it's expanded, and the story's even broader. It's a little deeper. It's not too complicated, but it's a lot. It's a lot more intricate. But everyone plays a different part that kind of comes together. They
Yeah.
find Nightcrawler, who did the first attack. That's what Jean Grey and Storm is doing. Obviously, they Professor X and Cyclops went to go see Magneto.
Yeah.
And this is how they get trapped.
So I was right. He is going to be in DarkPhoenix.
Oh, cool.
Oh, he is the same actor.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
but it doesn't say what his character is. So I don't know if it's.
Oh
gonna be
wow!
Colossus.
No, it
Well,
only
if
makes
it's not
sense.
Colossus, it's silly.
Well, it's going to be something. And I think that little girl that was yelling, I believe her character name is Siren. I think.
Oh, Siren. Okay. Oh,
So
okay.
I'd have to look online to see what her connection. She could be connected to Banshee. I'm not sure.
So here we have Logan, Wolverine, being reunited with Stryker, and right now he doesn't have memories of what happened to him, but I believe throughout the movie he gets all the flashes, and we saw him go into the Alkali Dam base earlier. And
It feels almost like a father element, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. No, he was actually like
created him,
he
yeah.
wanted to find out what happened.
But
But-
that's what Brian Cox's William Stryker character, like that's the way it feels right now. He feels like there's a set that he puts his hand up, and he's really putting his hand up, I think, to like feel maybe the
Yeah.
length. But Wolverine does that with his hand and puts it up against Stryker's, and you feel like there's this like element of like you're my father. It's the
the
weirdest
lighting
thing.
is
But
actually
for
really
a
great.
movie and a half, he's wanted to know what
Yeah.
his past is, and
For sure.
Stryker's about to give him the answer.
No,
but
but he's not
he has to
gonna-
make a choice.
I'm
Am I going to
your
help these
father.
kids, or
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of the father thing, I mean, Bryan Singer said a huge influence on this movie. They wanted to make this their Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
Obviously, I mean, everybody says that when you're
Interesting.
making a second movie, but I mean, they did to raise split the team apart, raise the stakes. I mean, you said there was kind of, with the father thing almost. It's almost like, Stryker could say, "No, I am your father" to Wolverine, which basically
Logan,
happens when
I
he
am
reveals
your
that he
father.
created him
Very
and
true.
stuff. And also, Bryan Singer said for visual influence, they looked at Road to Perdition, the great Tom Hanks, Paul Newman movie, which came out the year before this.
Can we just reference what we get right here, which is a beautiful brand element to the movie of the Mazda
8?
RX-8, introducing it, I think, for the first time.
But it doesn't have custom hubcaps that look like X's, though?
Yes, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
called?
I love when they do this stuff in movies, especially Transformers.
I love this guy here. He's like that henchman, that second in command. Like when we were younger, there was always a second in command. Every evil villain had like that henchman. You think back
Yes.
like the Goldar. Like we didn't even know his name, and he was like, I was like, okay, he's a badass. He's gonna hurt somebody.
Now, if you saw earlier, Stryker had all his commands to Cerebro. And
He's about to
they've
break in.
they've broken into the mansion, and now he's going to affect Cerebro.
Which seems crazy to me. I mean, I'm just sorry. I know that a lot of them are kids, but they're all mutants. They should be able to take out the special team.
Right.
In my opinion.
The
Well-
mutants from
Oh,
NSYNC.
NSYNC comes on the radio.
That's great.
Yeah.
The little kid mutants from Logan were able to do more than these kind of high school kids were able to do.
Where's X-23 when you need it, right?
Right?
Well, yeah. And, well, the thing is also the whole plan was they're going to catch them when they're sleeping.
Right.
They tranquilized a lot of the students while they were in bed. The only reason they even woke up because the possibly siren girl, screamed.
Right.
And woke everyone up. And so the people that got away are the people who woke up. Everyone else was getting...
Which makes sense, because they would have targeted the most powerful mutants. They probably would have thought that screaming girl didn't have any powers at all, or her screaming really didn't do anything, so they wouldn't have...
Yeah, the first mutant they targeted was the human remote, who was still up, and he was changing the TV channel.
Well, he's the most powerful mutant.
Harry Potter looking dude. Is that Morph?
No, he looked like a Culkin.
Yeah, he did look like a Culkin, actually.
Like a Culkin, didn't he?
I'm not going to say that.
No, it's not.
To go on
I'm saying it looked like one. There are no Culkins in this movie either.
There's going to be another. There's a Greer Gate every episode we do.
False Judy Greer sighting. She is in a lot of movies, so you know.
It looks like they CGI'd that gun to an extent, which I don't know why they felt the need to do.
Well, it was supposed to
weird.
simulate Professor's eyeball,
right?
Well,
but there was like the middle section of it when it was moving. I don't know. It's interesting.
Bryan Singer was given a much bigger budget for this movie.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you got so many more effects.
Well, what kind of budget are we talking here?
It was over $100 million. I want to say I don't know. I'm gonna confirm.
Was the first one less than 100?
Not 100% sure. It may have been. I think it was. I think we talked about that
regardless, this one was bigger. So.
And this is our first appearance of Rebecca Maine. But here,
there's Hank McCoy.
There's Hank McCoy, who's
on screen.
Beast.
If you're watching with us,
if you're watching with us,
the scene where Rebecca Romaine,
the real Rebecca
Stamos, is being revealed. That scene with that guy talking in the TV, that was Hank. That was Beast, man.
That was Beast.
Oh, here we get Rebecca Romaine. Was she still Rebecca Romaine Stamos at this time? I'm not sure.
Yeah, she was Stamos.
As her real self, which
that was like a
leg shot.
What's that movie?
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct.
Almost.
It's little pills that undissolved just for us, you know.
Did she appear in her real form in the first one at all?
No.
So this is okay.
It's the first time.
This was the set from the first film, I think, right? Remember they had something like this.
There was an unused scene where who was it? Someone's in school gets bullied.
Cyclops.
Right, and I think they ended up maybe not even using it, so they reused the set. Yeah. So now, this is kind of like with Mystique. It reminds me as you watch the movies where Jennifer Lawrence portrays the character. As the movies go on and on, you notice she spends less and less time as Mystique. Because Jennifer Lawrence is a pretty huge actress. She doesn't want to spend 5, 6, 7 hours a day in that makeup and stuff.
Yes.
And so she spends more and more time as her normal self.
Yeah.
So first X-Men. Oh yeah, I think we talked about this during the first one. Only had a budget of $75 million.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Which is because again, untested in the box office at the time. Nobody knew, when the first one was made, how superhero movies. Nobody knew how big they were going to be, and there weren't any big ensemble pieces like this. But yeah, because that one did so well, this one got a budget of $110 million, so $35 million more. But still, it's great, and it opened to 85 and went on to gross. This movie grossed 214 domestic, 192 foreign, so 407 worldwide.
Pretty solid.
That's really good. Yep. But it was still the 6th highest grossing movie of 2003.
Jeez.
A lot of people probably
Matrix was 2003, wasn't it?
Yeah. Matrix Reloaded did really well, and then Finding Nemo, and there were some other big
a lot of people probably don't realize that, you go online, all you see is the production budget, but you can pretty much double that with more often than not with the advertising. So you really have to double your production to even break even nowadays. In general, ever. So
yeah, and there's a lot more in studios sometimes. Maybe fudge the accounting a little bit to try to make this. Oh, this was successful, but it's like no, you spent like $200 million on advertising. And there's distribution costs, and studios only get part of the revenue. Theaters get some of the revenue too. But
what's distribution for people who don't know?
I don't know. Getting the movie out to theaters, which used to involve making actual physical prints of movies onto film reels and shipping them all over the world and all over the country. But nowadays, it's putting the copies onto hard drives and getting the hard drives. And then some theaters may even beam it or send just files beam it in digitally and stuff like that. So
they send hard drives with files that you had passwords in order to play.
We all were lucky enough to live in the generation where a lot of them, every movie theater was pretty much film based, and I'm sure most are digital now. I would think.
Yeah. But here in Los Angeles, if any of you guys capers are listening from LA, there are a lot of theaters that you can still see things projected in 35 millimeter, 75 millimeter. The American Cinematheque does that. The Arrow, the ArcLight, the Egyptian, the New Beverly, which Quentin Tarantino owns, only shows things on film. Nice. So it's cool to still get to see that, and it's kind of, you see the grain and the grit and stuff like that, and but it's fun to still experience that. It's nostalgic,
Yeah,
I agree.
So now this man being wheeled into Stryker. This is his son, correct? And
Jason,
yes.
Yeah,
Jason, who is a mutant. I'm not sure what his powers.
He can essentially he can manipulate thoughts in your mind, and make you see things.
But Stryker's experimented on his own son, or tried to get the mutant out of him or something, which is pretty messed up.
Well, yeah, and
that's very.
Go ahead.
Good, sorry.
No. Stryker brings up that story at one point how that his wife was murdered by his son when his son put projected thoughts into her mind, and I think she had to dig it out with like a
screwdriver.
Oh, and that's why he hates mutants so much, probably.
I'm sure that fed into it.
Now this actor is he's notorious. He's played a lot of roles over the years where he's like really skinny. He was one of the victims in Seven, I believe, the sloth victim, I think. So because of his body type, he plays all these patients or skinny, starved people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because of his son, this is kind of fuels his mutant hatred.
Yeah, so
and that's very if you think about, and this is going to get really thought junky, but think about the religious people who really don't necessarily agree with homosexuality. You see that in Stryker's hate for the mutants at large, and so now bringing that conversation back over to what we're watching on screen, we are in Bobby's house, and Chad, you might be able to talk about this, but didn't Singer inject himself? Oh, no, it wasn't Singer. It was Ian McKellen injected himself and said, "This scene, Bobby, you Iceman, when you're talking to your parents, this is going to be you coming out as a gay male."
He helped. Yes, Bobby. Yes, Ian McKellen, I think, helped shape this scene with the writers, or Bryan Singer, the director, because Bobby comes out as mutant to his parents, and they wanted to make that very similar to what it's like for somebody to come out as gay to their parents.
William Stryker really is the personification of pretty much everything that is prejudice in the world.
Right. That's why it makes sense that I think some of his initial appearances were as this kind of this very fundamentalist televangelist, kind of side of things.
This is when he tries to make the kiss. This is when Iceman actually does the kiss.
Oh, there's a kiss, right?
He thinks he can do it,
and he did it.
He did it.
There's a will, there's a way, Mom.
He got greedy though.
He got a little greedy.
He got greedy.
Just like any male would have done.
But
he got greedy.
See, Rogue can't touch him. She's still got that. See.
Crap!
First time we met Rogue.
No, Bobby's bedroom now.
Bobby's bedroom. They're not in bed yet, but
this is the same scene that he tried to kiss.
He should not have been able to break away. Bedroom.
But
he shouldn't have been able to break away. She can suck the life out of you.
Well, the thing is that
I'm sure
he was kind of putting a little ice shield, and so that's probably what helped him be able to do that.
Maybe, yeah.
That's why he got away with the first kiss.
Cat licking Wolverine's claws.
So there's ice. There's iced tea on those claws, which makes the cat want to lick the claws.
But yeah, I was gonna say poor Rogue. The first time we ever meet her in the first movie, she's with a boy in her room and kisses him, and doesn't end well.
Right.
I love this.
Professor Logan. Professor Logan.
Now I look at this and I'm like, it would have been great. Remember that story I gave in, was it Hulk, I think? About love and sex and all that stuff. Remember I showed those high school students?
Yeah,
It would have been so much better to show X2 to those kids.
Yeah, why'd you choose X-Men 3?
You asked that question last time. I was just busy.
This is the better movie.
This is better movie, and this feels like X3. I think maybe failed in our minds because of how commercial it felt.
Yeah,
well,
this
still
still
for several reasons.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It fails for several reasons, but this still feels like it's in the vein of the first X-Men. It felt artistic. It didn't feel like a big budget film, and still felt I mean, of course it feels like a big budget film, but it still just feels different than what we start to see later on.
Well, I think this one had a very solid, cohesive storyline still, whereas the third one just goes... I mean, we can thank that director for that one, but...
I mean, it's very... Think about it, we're all in the industry and stuff. It's really hard to make a good movie. It actually is. There's so many things have to fall into place. Like, you can have the script has to be good, you know, but it has to be executed. The direction, the acting, the way it's filmed. But the thing is, movies are filmed out of order over the course of like 6 months or something. Just you're doing bits and pieces here and there, and then you have to shape it in the editing room. And I mean, everything has to come together and work. You know, that's why most movies are forgettable, and only a few end up being really good and remembered. And it's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
What a shitty way to go.
Oh yeah.
This is the metal. She ejected very tiny bits of metal into his body. Rebecca Romaine.
Well, she injected iron, I believe.
Yes.
Metal,
but enough that couldn't be detected because it was through his bloodstream.
Correct.
But
this is a great shot. His escape.
It's so cool seeing what he can do to manipulate metal. It's just I love what Bryan Singer did there. I mean, it's like the size, the shape, everything. It's so cool.
This is why he's an Omega level mutant. I mean, the guy technically, if he didn't have a code of honor, he could kill everybody.
So I don't think he actually needed to create that. He should have been able to levitate solely off having metal in the area.
I guess the film version of him, he doesn't exactly fly except for.
He's basically like a human gun. He's like taking little bits of metal and firing them at the speed of bullets into people. What were you gonna say, Martin?
I don't remember.
Oh, you also had a question for me that I was supposed to come back to at some point. What was your question for me?
I asked it to you already.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. So here's the coming out
scene.
Oh, the lighter that Pyro has. You know, it has the shark. I believe that's a reference to Bryan Singer's favorite movie, which of course is
Jaws.
Jaws, yeah. I think we mentioned this in the other one, but his production company is called Bad Hat Harry Productions, which you see at the end of his movies and TV shows, where it's a little cartoon kind of representation of a scene from Jaws, and that Bad Hat Harry is a line that Roy Scheider, Chief Brody says in Jaws too. That's a bad hat, Harry. So it's his favorite movie. So maybe the little shark on Pyro's lighter is a little reference to that as well.
So is his favorite director Steven Spielberg?
I don't know. I just know that's his favorite
director
movie,
isn't Spielberg.
I'm not sure. I'm sure. Obviously, Spielberg is a big influence on Bryan Singer. He's that age.
Cool. So if you go back to biblical times, you know, the guy who turns in Iceman here, Bobby, is his brother.
Cain and
Abel.
Yeah, good point.
That goes all the way back. Like, there's so many stories that we've been told in order to view our lives through the craft of these stories, and like the brother on brother conflict's one of them, and you see that so often. Yeah, and now we have the coming out scene, and now the brother is like calling the cops on the mutants, including his own brother. Like, that's crazy. This is the part of the fear that people have of the mutants are just people being different. Right, that kid probably grew up watching the news and watching all these things and all the fear mongering, and suddenly he hates mutants. And then to feel that your brother is a mutant. Oh man, this is 2002? 2003. So, I mean, we're looking at homosexuality. It's come so far here in 2018 than when it was here.
Yeah.
And these are things that directly correlate very easily to real life. Fear is the number one driven factor to the reason that people are prejudiced, racist, discriminatory. Yes. Fear really does lead to people being afraid of people, and unfortunately they do horrible, rash. Yeah.
This movie was filmed less than a year after 9/11. It was filmed in the summer of 2002, so. Right. Terrorism, that fear also in there as well. You know, you could also probably make some connections and allegories to the X-Men kind of being like seen as kind of like terrorists almost, causing destruction and mayhem when they go. I know that wasn't probably the thought when they were originally created. That's exactly what the first scene was about. The whole mutant freedom thing on the knife.
All right,
that's exactly what it was.
I believe Yoda said it best: "Fear leads to hate." Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to the dark side.
Something like that, yes.
Something in that regard.
Creepy Phantom Menace puppet Yoda.
I think I might have mixed up the anger and the hate one, but you get the point.
See, and you know what sucks? You know what sucks is the fact that a movie all about teaching people how to get rid of fear and not listen to fear, and fear isn't real. Happens to be one of the worst movies ever, apparently.
After Earth?
Yeah, I said it.
I appreciate you going back.
I said it.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay.
We'll just remind Capers, we'll say this every time it comes up, Martin saw After Earth 11 times. That is...
That's just
in
10
the theater.
plus 1
11 times in the theater.
In the theater.
Anyone who knows that movie knows
And
that
I saw some of it last night because my roommate was watching it.
Martin has the poster up in his room. He actually has a poster.
And
looks
today's
at it
Will
every
Smith's
night.
50th birthday.
Yeah, he went
That's
to a
true.
Will Smith themed birthday party recently. I don't even know.
That was the Will Smith party. That was Willennium. But Will Smith's birthday is today.
That's right.
He bungee jumped into
Wow.
into the Grand Canyon.
Be honest, have you ever dressed up from that movie for Halloween?
No, but I will.
Oh, you should then.
I'm gonna go to Comic
So,
Con like that.
Iceman's mom just said, "Have you tried not being a mutant?" That's
Right?
probably
Have
a
you tried
thing.
not being gay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not being attracted.
No,
to
I'm
anyone.
sure. I'm sure. Like,
Version
I'm
of it.
sure they, like we mentioned, the people who've had those experiences who contributed to this movie probably knew what some common responses would be to sharing that news with people.
Right.
Drop the knives. I can't.
Yeah.
Right. That's great.
And then,
God, don't let me forget this thought junkie
Yes.
comment I have in my head about homosexuality. Remind me after
Well,
this scene.
Okay. All right. We want to watch the. We want to watch.
this is the attack scene where after Bobby's brother, Ronnie, calls the cops, which kind of like it plays in the whole fact of the fear.
Ooh, shot in the
Shot in the
forehead.
That's okay. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
Regenerate.
Wolverine falls down.
So some people are like, "Oh, why
Unconscious.
did Wolverine pass out?" Well, it's like, if you think about it, the bullet probably hit his adamantium skull. It still like gave his brain whiplash.
concussion.
Because it's still like
Concussions when your
right.
brain moves in your
It
head.
probably did. So it probably would still
It
knock
actually
him
plays in
unconscious.
later because this is how
Yeah.
he with a bullet you can if you shoot him in the head you can actually knock him unconscious because it happens in Wolverine Origins.
Yep.
This is how he loses his memory because they shoot him with this special bullet in the head.
So
Now that would
It
probably
does play
be
back later
that would
on.
probably be rated R if Wolverine if you actually killed him there and you showed a close up
Right.
with a bullet wound
Oh,
in
yeah.
his forehead. But since the MPA probably got past it, even though you show blood, because it's like he'll be fine.
So this is really, I think, where Pyro takes a turn for the dark side here.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean,
well, Pyro is like the
climax.
epitome of like the fear. Like he's the one who's like he realizes this fear, but he wants to strike back. He doesn't want to like work it out.
These practical explosions are cool.
There's the duo between him and Iceman, where
Yes.
he's really the Malcolm X character, and Iceman's kind of. I mean, if you
Exactly.
want to
No. In
He's
the
the
younger
Martin
version of
Luther
it.
King Jr. one, yeah.
No, they play that at the very
interesting.
Yeah,
beginning.
you do see that kind of parallel between those two characters.
Interesting.
So,
Okay, Ryan, was there ever... Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off,
no.
but was
Yeah,
there
me too,
ever in the future of X-Men, was there ever a point where Iceman became someone like Professor X and Pyro became someone like Magneto? Because if you look at... That's the parallel we're kind of
Yeah,
looking at here.
not in the
Two young guys growing up, looking at oppression from a different point of view. That's literally Iceman and Pyro.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Here.
in the comics, those two characters really, there's not that prevalent of a storyline that I recall.
Mm-hmm.
But in the movies, they decided to play on that. Interestingly enough, Iceman in the comics did eventually become gay, and I think get married to a guy. I think
Oh,
he did. I'm
He
Interesting.
actually
In a recent
did.
comic
I don't remember the marriage
It
part.
was
But
a
I do
big
remember
deal,
the whole
yeah.
gay thing coming
I'm
out.
pretty
Yes.
sure it was Iceman. That
Yeah, they're all in on the
Interesting.
on the gay
I
parallel.
do
Yeah,
remember
you know,
that.
It's whatever, you know.
Diversity
It's good.
is-
I mean, I can't tell you
It's the
what year
message
that
out
was,
there.
but I'm pretty sure it was more recent.
It was in the last 5 years, but yeah, Marvel is all about diversity nowadays, especially in the comic books.
That's
So
the copy shot
In the
in the
comic
head.
books, you said?
yeah,
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are happy about that. People in the comic book industry that
Oh my
tend to
God,
believe
it
they
sucks.
call them purist or elitist. They don't want a white character to be black. They don't want a straight character to be gay, but they don't want a male character to be maybe a woman, like they did with Thor, changing it from a man to a woman.
People need to get in touch with the modern world. Like,
Right.
Seriously.
And it's
Get
not
in
even
touch
a
with
modern
the
world.
times.
It's just getting rid of those insecurities
Yeah.
you have about yourself.
Yeah.
And this is bringing me back to my question. I'm like, well, do you remember your first interaction with a gay or lesbian person in your life? Do you remember how we all live in LA, so it's normal for us, but not everyone comes
Not
from
growing
Los
up.
Angeles.
Yeah. No, not
I mean,
normal where I
mean-
grew up, really. You know.
Oh no, I mean in Arizona I did. I mean I worked with this guy who homosexual, and but it was. I guess it didn't stand out to me as much because it was just another person. And I just found out he was, but he was still a person. He was just another person.
Right.
So that's what it was. There wasn't anything big about it. It wasn't like I saw him making out with another guy, or so. It wasn't anything traumatizing. It was just another person, and I found out later on that he was homosexual.
Right,
but not
that there's anything wrong with that.
Right, but no, he's right. It is traumatizing for.
It's different
for someone young who grew up, who maybe had a parent who wasn't as open and kind of like groomed them a certain way with a certain point of view. That could be traumatizing for someone, but that's not bad. You know what I mean? A conversation can still be had about that, and you can learn something from that other person.
I think that's the key. Just having an open mind and be willing to learn. If you can do that, then you can excel in being open with other people that aren't like you.
Well, it's people's fear of ignorance. It's ignorance and fear, because the thing is, it's if you don't know, there's a lot of people who aren't open enough to learn. They just go with what they presume, prejudge, prejudice, and go with that instead of actually like opening up to figure out why and understand someone else's view.
Right, dude. I can tell you the project I'm working on right now is kind of me going back to my neighborhood where I grew up and kind of connecting with the people in that neighborhood, because we were all minorities and all from the lower socioeconomic class. And me being here in Los Angeles is crazy because like I hear people talk and they're like, you don't sound like a normal black person. Like, and Chris, you can account to this too. Like, that's like the weirdest thing to tell a black person. You don't sound like a normal black person. So people tell me all the time, one, you don't sound like a normal black person, and two, you sound so intellectual and blah 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 blah. Right? But in my head, I'm like, there's so many people who I grew up with who sound just like me, are just as smart as me, and just as street smart as me. Like, I want to highlight the neighborhood I grew up in, so we can kind of humanize people and minorities and people from the lower class, because I feel like that's one of just the devices one of the devices that keep us separate in society today. Like, if there's a way to take the middle class and lower class and like kind of meld them together and have them understand one another and get rid of that fear that we've been taught throughout our lives, like, that's when we create healing in the world.
Well, we just got serious for you, Caper,
got serious. That's what X-Men does for you.
That's what the Thought Junkie's here for.
That's what's gonna happen sometimes.
And now we're watching a tornado battle in the movie, just to get back to the movie.
Storm's
tornado battle.
By the way, I just want to point out, I feel like Jean Grey with her powers could have just like ripped apart the other planes, but
she didn't know what those powers were yet.
Well, in this scene, she, in this actual show, she makes it very apparent that she's learning her powers.
Do you know that apparently Bryan Singer claimed that you just saw one of the fighter pilots chasing him, who is a woman, claimed that this was the first time you've ever seen a woman fighter pilot in like a U.S. military aircraft in a movie. Claimed that, but apparently that's not true. I can't tell you the first time. I'm sure there's been other instances of that, but he thought he was breaking some new ground there, but it was not true.
So I'm pretty sure we get the first moment coming up right now where we get an element of the Phoenix in Jean Grey. I feel like we see something happen with her trying to break apart these. It's going to be in her eyes, I believe.
Yeah, she actually tries to...
right here.
Ooh, little glow. That was never there before. Wow.
So as we know in the comics, the Dark Phoenix is an entity from the celestial plane. It's from outer space. It's from a different area. In the movies, it's from what? It's like Chris. It's like a mind thing from when she was a kid or something, I believe.
Yeah. Well, no. It's actually a mind thing, but it's a mutant power that's been like buried in her, who just hasn't manifested yet.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
This always was really cool. Nightcrawler goes out of the plane to save it. Was that Rogue? Who?
Yes. Yeah. Because she never sleep at all.
There's a little lost Oceanic Flight 815 going on right now. The tail of the plane blew off, and they're crash landing. Not on an island though, but That was always Nightcrawler's so good. How is he only in this movie? Like,
you see
he's a great character, and Alan Cumming's so good.
You see
too.
similar powers used in these movies, and once again, back to X-Men Apocalypse. He does the same thing in that movie, that Nightcrawler version. So with the plane towards the end.
And I will say this: my Alan Cumming, with the same theory, my Ed Norton theory about why he doesn't come back for the Hulk, is that Alan Cumming is an artist. He's one of those artistic actors. So if he doesn't really like something, he'll like decide not to do it.
Yeah.
What was he on that? He was on that show, The Good Wife, right?
He was on the show for The Good Wife for a while.
For a long time.
But, I mean, he's done a lot of other things in between that, and him deciding I don't want to sit in 7 hours of makeup could be a good deterrent instead of like I need this for my career.
Right.
Which Wolverine at the time needed for his career.
He's such a good like sympathetic character. He's like a great. Just rewatching this now, like you sympathize with him. So he's so gentle and he's so like. There's so many layers to him.
Well, in this scene, I'll tell you this because if you know this, right when Rogue walked on the plane the very first time I saw him, her face was all kind of scared and like, ooh, what is that?
Yeah.
Right when she walked on the plane the first time, when Rogue was saved, Nightcrawler saved his life, and now she's like sitting down. It's kind of like breaking bread with the guy she just doesn't understand.
Yeah. So now this is when we get the sense of them. They just met up with Magneto and Mystique, and now they have to team up.
Yeah,
the bad guys teaming up.
You don't usually see
with
that
the
with
good
guys, right?
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah, you're right. It happens. It's usually an arc that happens in a good amount of trilogies and movie series and things like that. But it's always interesting.
And what's her face?
And Ray.
And Ray,
it happens. Yeah, you get a little sense of that.
I mean, but that's the thing about this movie is that, and even the X-Men series in general, is like the bad guys are only bad because they have a different perspective than the quote unquote good guys. They're wanting the same thing, they just have different perspectives.
Yeah, and they have different. They're willing to go further and use different techniques, which might be violent or illegal or something, which the good guys don't want to do. Just to pursue that.
And that's what only makes them a good guy and bad guy. Watching Black Panther, when we get to that, you'll see that like how Killmonger and Black Panther. They kind of want the same things, but Killmonger's view is different because of how he was raised.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Magneto in the comics is not necessarily a bad person. He's just an extreme person who, as we just
he's an extremist.
He's an extremist. That's all he is. But he does have technically good intentions.
You don't hate Magneto when you watch these movies, really.
Right. Even
really
like you think about X-Men Apocalypse, like Magneto's character arc. Like you think of Magneto as a good person throughout the entire film. So Magneto's not a bad person. I don't think.
Well, his children get murdered, so I think you feel.
He doesn't care about murdering humans. The thing is, his Malcolm X is like, hey, his Malcolm X mentality is that yes, I'm the superior race, and we should be treated better than this.
Correct.
And he's okay with killing regular humans or people who are not mutants.
Yeah.
Well, then think about it from this point of view. Like, there's probably a Muslim person who has had a family member killed by an American who becomes an extremist. Then you think about that. Then that's real life. Mm-hmm. That's translated into these films. That's the Maximoff twins. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. Yeah.
Agreed.
No, it's.
So I was like, how? Okay, so if they're going to incorporate the X-Men into the MCU in the next few years, how will they? Like, Ryan, what do you think? How do you think they can all of a sudden get mutants into the MCU without you saying where were they the whole time? I think they go the route which has been explored with the Inhumans, almost like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where the mutant gene has been around like in the MCU this whole time, but it has to be activated by like the Terrigen Mist to bring it out.
Inhumans, I mean, they're really a different race. They're not really mutants, but they're not going to go that route because they already cut that movie. It's done. I don't even think.
And they've explored it a lot on the TV.
Yeah, they did the TV. They did the series already.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had that long-running storyline.
But I think what a lot of people wanted for a long time, and I'm in a Facebook group with over 300,000 people, and this is what I remember hearing for a long time, is they wanted to see X-Men versus Avengers, essentially. The It's clearly not going to happen anymore because the Avengers are winding down. So
and it would mess up the continuity of the MCU. Like, where were they the whole time?
So,
like,
right.
you know.
So it's a good question. I don't know how they're going to enter them into the series.
Which they're going to have to explain with Captain Marvel, as we'll see. Like, where was she the whole time? She's been out in space since the 90s.
They have a plan for that, though.
I know, they do. They've been planning.
So we'll find out.
Yes,
and I will say, there is that connection to Miss Marvel, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, to Mystique and mutants. So there may be a way to enter them. And they do have a celestial element to them as well with the Phoenix.
But you've
so
already...
when they go to the Eternals, you could go there. You could go to that celestial element.
Well, you've already seen the Maximoff twins that were created from Loki's scepter. Those the Mind Stone?
The Mind Stone, yeah.
Instead of being mutants, they already kind of explained that.
They were experimental,
That's canon kind of now,
I just think they're going to have to mix it up a little bit to bring them in.
I don't know. Kevin Feige's he's a mastermind. We'll see what he comes up with. So, were you going to say something, Martin?
I forgot.
I love this.
I forgot because what you guys were talking about was so interesting. I was listening to it. I'm like, oh, this is so good.
And now we have the two blue people on screen.
This is one of my favorite scenes here.
Oh, okay, go ahead, man.
Nightcrawler
and Mystique talking.
The kiss on his mom.
No. Nightcrawler talking to Mystique, and what Nightcrawler is saying is like, you have the ability to beat anybody.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be?
Why
would you want to be a mutant?
Yeah.
And her statement is because we shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
It's
there you go. Not hide.
He wants to. He hides because he's shy. He's been like bullied his whole entire life, and she's a freedom fighter.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thing is, every single character in this thing has a purpose, which makes this movie great to me.
And I will say the storylines from 1 to 3 really did progress. So
yes,
3 obviously it's like chaotic as hell with mutants.
Oh yeah, it turned into a battle.
Become human again essentially with that power. But
I just feel,
before we go too much into that,
I just feel like those 3 films were like so crucial. The first 3 X-Men films were so crucial in creating this landscape where superhero films can thrive. So you had to have the most impactful storylines or the most like star power, and Hugh Jackson wasn't a star, but you had to have Halle Berry's. You had to have
Halle Berry.
You had to have. I want Halle Berry. So you had to have these characters to kind of draw us into watching this, so it can create some type of a world that we can kind of connect to. I don't know. These films they don't get enough credit for starting this superhero film craze that we're in now.
This is the X-Men was the catalyst.
Wolverine's having a very sexually confusing experience right now. He thought it was Jean Grey, and then it was Mystique, and then she changed into Stryker for a minute, or I think she even turned into Rogue for a second.
How did Mystique know all that about Wolverine? How did she know all of his fears?
Because she's been paying attention.
She's
a spy.
So we get them in costume right now in their X-Men outfits or uniforms, and one thing that once again I think a lot of the comic book and the movie superhero community wish they did differently was bring in the original Wolverine outfit of the yellow and the. People wanted that.
Would that have looked too ridiculous? Wait, didn't they bring those in for one of the recent? Didn't First Class or one of them? Didn't they wear yellow?
There was a cameo of it, and there's it's like you see it, but he never wears it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if that just maybe wouldn't have translated
well,
as well.
They make a reference of the first one.
What?
Think about
they make a reference of the first one when you see them all dressed in black, and he's what you want me to wear yellow space?
That's right.
I mean, what film series was huge around this time that had black spandex? Matrix.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Like we said, Cyclops was doing a little Neo action earlier in this.
But these are choices that directors make sometimes, and they mix things up. And look, it doesn't usually bode well for the fan base community of everyone. But could have
been Fox saying we need them to look like the Matrix superheroes.
No, very very true.
Yeah,
true. Got to compete with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So Pyro is being. Essentially
enticed,
recruited to join Magneto's Brotherhood of Mutants. Doing a good job at it.
Oh yeah, Martin. They probably had to compete because there were there were two Matrix movies the year this came out. 2003. You had the same month as this was right after this was Matrix Reloaded, and then 6 months later was Matrix Revolutions. Anyways.
Yeah, you have to see that scene. It's kind of like the Pyro being enticed to the dark side.
Yeah.
Look at
We'll
the
go Star
lighting
Wars
here.
with this.
The lighting on Brian Cox, like the overhead lighting, just like you can't even see his eyes. It's
very-
now it makes he's the
He looks
evil,
like he was
he's
under a
the
green
villain.
lamp. Looks
Yeah.
like he was under a green lamp.
Green lamps. Martin will check all the boxes every time. Watches green
We get
lamps,
that reference every time.
wet action scenes at night.
Helicopter at nighttime.
Asian reporters.
Asian
Is there an Asian reporter in this one? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Not yet, but the movie's not over.
Whatever you were talking about a second ago, Chris, you're right though. What were you talking about? Do you remember?
The being enticed to the dark side, the pyro, the two sides of pyro.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and I want to go back and just like read stories of all of the biblical characters. You know, it's been so long since I read the Bible and whatnot, but like if you think about this, it's like superheroes were called something else back in the day. They were called gods, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like superheroes are just our generation's version of what a god is.
That's true. That's
Well,
true.
you're kind of playing on. I got to be honest, Hancock right there, because that's what's mentioned in that movie. It's like the
Yes.
past day gods are the current day superhero. That's what the transformation.
that's
is.
right.
So, yeah, but it was kind of funny. I have to point out, I think as a moviegoer, you don't think about these things too often, but I couldn't help but notice it was interesting in that scene. There was a moment where on everyone else it was a still shot, but on Wolverine they were pulling into him slowly. I don't know what that's called.
Pushing in?
pushing
yeah,
in,
they're
or
dollying into
and
him. Yeah.
and I guess they were trying to
Dollying.
emphasize maybe.
Well,
the
yeah, because
emotional
he's
situation he was
he's
having,
back
but-
to his where he was created, and
Right.
now we saw him here earlier. Did he travel here himself earlier in the movie? We saw
He
it
did.
Well, no, he
Top
did,
Flight,
but he only stayed on the surface. It was
Right,
frozen.
right, but now
he didn't
he's
know it's
in,
underground
right.
thing.
But what I wanted to point out there was, I think between the camera angle movements and the lighting,
Yeah.
that can really play a lot into an
Right,
emotional
and it's
moment.
just
So-
showing like this is important to him, and you want
Yeah.
to read the emotions on his face and what he's
Right.
thinking. And
So I would challenge moviegoers to
Yes.
pay attention to that stuff more, because you
Yep.
gotta find
Yeah.
something interesting.
there
about that.
are
And filmmakers.
there are reasons behind every director's
Shadows in the
choice.
face.
Yeah,
What-
lighting
what-
and the camera.
What
stuff.
election was won by camera angles?
That would be
You
John
know-
F. Kennedy
Kennedy and was it-
Lyndon,
and,
not
and
Lyndon.
oh my God,
Nixon?
and Richard Nixon. Thank
Nixon,
you.
right?
Yeah.
That was
because
because
John F. Kennedy won.
Well, because
Richard
he was a
Nixon was
good
sweating
looking, he was a
profusely.
good looking
Uh-huh.
young guy, and so television really affected that.
It was
yeah.
the
and,
first ever debate
right.
in
That's one
television.
thing. And what else, Ryan?
Oh, this is
Well, I think Richard Nixon was sweating profusely and just looked nervous and like he didn't feel confident, and I think that projected on the screen for the average viewer.
Yeah.
And it won Kennedy essentially. The election.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
I just got fooled again. And Mystique has just turned into everybody in this movie. Now
well,
she's
yeah.
Wolverine,
The thing is
she
that
breaks out. My God.
they
everywhere.
wanted Wolverine was going to go in there because he would let Wolverine in, but we needed someone who can unlock the gates, and Mystique has the knowledge.
I'll watch a whole movie of Mystique action.
What's so cool about Mystique is in the movie is you get to see the other actors portraying her too. So like
Yeah.
there's a
That's
moment
true.
where,
Yes.
like Brian Cox
That's
doing
true.
like the gun thing, and
He has
it's
to do
kinda
the
funny.
little kiss, like
Yeah.
wave. Yeah, that's
Striker's
true.
just looking under the door and like waving. Like
Yeah,
he did.
it's pretty
yeah.
funny when you think
Very
about
interesting.
it.
They get to
But
do
the thing is,
something fun.
and that's why you could cast a model that hasn't done the best acting experience in this role, because it's not
Right.
it's not as I guess the character's great.
She's very
but-
serious. She doesn't have to have big range as Mystique.
Right, and then half the time it's other actors playing her.
that's true.
That's where
That's a
their
good
range
point.
really
Yeah.
comes into play.
But then
Yeah.
when Jennifer Lawrence takes over,
Yeah.
you see a lot more Jennifer
That's what we're
Lawrence.
saying. Yeah,
Right.
there's
A lot,
yeah,
like you
'cause
said
she's
before,
she's
yeah.
a better actress, and yeah, she doesn't have to be in the makeup, and yeah, it just makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Didn't think about that.
Oh, and in that point, it's like she has. I mean, if you notice, Mystique as a character doesn't have that many lines. Period.
Yeah.
That's why that one of my favorite lines is that's when she talks in her real voice.
Right.
That what she says that like we don't have to, we shouldn't have to.
Right.
Most of the
Yeah.
time, she's talking to other people. We're talking in a different voice.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
But
And that's
then
like
Jennifer Lawrence has monologues.
right. Yes. and that's so like, you know, when you always see like who's the better Joker, who's the better Mystique, who's the better Professor X, like sometimes those questions just aren't valid because you can't answer them. You know what I mean? Like you can't compare
Every
Rebecca
actor brings
Romijn.
something. Now you
Well,
yeah.
even the storytelling, you can't compare Rebecca to
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer
because she's not
Lawrence.
given as many lines. Yeah, and it all No, it all depends on the story and the script and the way they're used and the
Yeah.
context of the movie, and Yeah, every actor brings great stuff to the character. If multiple people playing the same character, yeah.
Right.
No, you're right. I love James McAvoy's Professor X is great. Patrick Stewart's great. You know, it's
100%.
It all depends.
Yeah, it's sometimes what the script calls for.
Michael Fassbender is awesome as Magneto.
Oh,
but
yeah.
like Ian McKellen is also. I mean, it maybe is more fun to watch Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart like chew it up as those characters.
Yeah.
Though. You know what I mean? I don't know. They're just like they're so good. Maybe they were the first ones, but those other two actors, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, are so perfect as the younger versions. You know,
Right.
They inhabit that really well.
Because they still bring that spirit. Like, when I look at Ian and Patrick, like, in these films, they're so much more older and wiser. And I don't need a lot
you bring that.
I need one level
yes.
from you. Like, I don't need you to become, like, I don't need this performance to be an Oscar nominee performance. But, like, when you look at McAvoy and Fassbender, like, they bring so much emotion to these characters because they're young.
Right.
And because they don't understand what this world means to them yet,
what
being a mutant means to them.
They've been through all the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And that plays very well. And that's why I like Days of Future Past so much. Like, think about this though. Like, when we decided to create this podcast, Shad, the idea was to create the Oscars level of superhero films.
Martin would always ask me to, we did the superhero Oscars, what would be like best picture, what would be, best actor, best cinematography, etc. for all the categories they do in the real Oscars, but specifically for superhero movies. So maybe we'll do a special, maybe around the Oscars we should do a special Cape Seat Free where we debate and come up with our picks for that, and maybe we vote and actually reveal the winners.
Oh, that would be so fun.
We're going to start planning that.
And maybe we can get them involved too. We can get the Capers involved somehow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun game.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
That could be so fun.
We have a few months.
Yeah, we have a few months.
But
Let's make that happen.
I think I might
Let's definitely make that happen.
I might be like caught up off of Glass still.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, so you said that was one of the ideas that was kind of spun off from. So yeah.
I don't remember what
because these movies very rarely actually win major Oscars. If it's anything, it's just like technical things. Maybe this movie was nominated for 0 Oscars, by the way. But.
So we're in the scene now where William Stryker is telling his son to force Professor Xavier to essentially start killing all the mutants on Earth by using Cerebro, and it just this is where you really get to see how powerful.
Such a smart plan.
It was a very smart plan, actually. You're right. I mean, and in the comics, he does have genius level intellect, so he has the ability to.
Stryker does.
Yeah, Stryker. He can manipulate and come up with genius ideas like this. So,
jeez.
Now, is the little kid a representation? He's not.
No,
real,
that's what Patrick Stewart sees. That's what Professor X sees.
He's manipulating is it a younger version of himself?
No, he's just making the innocent version of one of the students. Is the little girl
a younger version of Patrick?
It's one of the students that he thinks he's helping. So
no,
that's why they keep coming back and forth.
I thought I had some memory that it was actually a boy with long hair.
No,
it's a girl.
It does look like
a girl.
I thought it was a boy. Okay.
I took it as it's just a very
but that kid's.
character.
I don't think that kid's actually there. I think that's in his.
No,
mind.
she's not. No, it's all in his mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, he's not really in Cerebro. He's actually at Stryker's lab.
I think it's a boy. Are you sure it's not a boy?
It's 100% a girl.
All right, never mind. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched this.
There's a lot of people who talk about the entertainment industry, like playing off all of our greatest fears in order to sell. Like, this is one of our greatest fears, right? Our mind taking control of us, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's from AI or whether it's just from some type of disease that happens, our mind taking over, and that's one of the biggest fears, and we're seeing that through this X-Men film.
Yeah. But I think the little girl character was simply David Stryker's son's projection of a relaxed, trusting, character, little, girl that Professor Xavier could buy into, that she's trying to help, get help from him and force him to do things, but in a very relaxed, subtle way, so he doesn't think he's not in, his own mind at the moment, which he is.
Right.
Okay. So I'm looking at this right now, and I'm trying to tie in X-Men's ensemble cast versus Avengers ensemble cast. Mm-hmm. Is the only difference technology and time?
Technology and time.
Is that the only difference?
Well, I mean, it's directing.
Chris talks about how this ensemble cast, everybody has a purpose. Everybody has some type of storyline that pushes the story forward. I didn't necessarily see that before, but I see it in Avengers, is the only difference between X-Men 2 here. In Avengers, like, per time, like the advancements in technology, how, like, as
the technology that they get to use, or in the actual filmmaking.
In the actual filmmaking.
Oh.
Like, think about how YouTube videos are so important and popular now. And it's because we only want quick 30-second videos. Like, think about how the world now wants shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, this seems a little bit longer than Avengers in terms of, like, the story that's going on with these characters. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's just as important, this fight between Cyclops and Jean Grey is just as important as the fights between Tony Stark and Captain America.
Well, Avengers is pretty long. I mean, they had like a bunch of movies to set. They had way more movies to set up the Avengers than they did to set up this.
But X-Men did it without that. X-Men did it without the years and years and years of movies.
Right.
So X-Men
none of these had people had solo movies before this point,
Yeah, well, the stories. It's just the stories. I mean, these characters. Yeah, we know a little bit about them. We don't know, like, with the Avengers, you got to know each of the characters throughout their stories, and all little pieces of those story, like, added to the Avengers storyline altogether.
Yeah.
Well, this was just. I mean, it was just. They found purposes with each of the characters within this storyline.
Right.
Yeah, I still feel like you get to know these characters pretty well, even just through these 2 movies as at this point. But I mean, there's something about, like, Marvel made it work where you got to know these characters really well through their own solo movies and stuff, and even more, before they all teamed up.
So it's not fair. You can't compare X-Men to United to Avengers, because this is the Avengers of our time.
Right, and I mean that's hard. That's harder if you don't give it all these characters. They get their own solo movies. You have to cram in backstory and exposition without it seeming too heavy-handed and stuff. And
to be clear, the Avengers, they all had their own first appearances before Avengers 1 came out in 1963.
Yeah.
Oh, in the comics, yeah.
X-Men's first appearance was all together in X-Men #1. So
it
wasn't a solo
Good
element.
call.
So it kind of makes sense that it would happen.
They were developed differently.
Yeah, in the comics, they all had their own first appearances separately before they came together.
That's true. Yeah, it's not like Wolverine and Professor X and Beast. They all had their own separate lines, and then, let's team them up. Yeah, you're right. They were developed as a team.
It was already a team.
That's a good point. So you kind of look at them differently in that way.
It almost makes more sense that Marvel would approach the Avengers like that. Yeah, building the team up together. It would have been weird to just thrust them into the Avengers.
But it's like the Avengers themselves individually are not necessarily more powerful than some of these mutants. I mean, some of them are, I guess.
Well,
Thor is pretty powerful, Captain.
No,
like Wolverine's pretty. He could, he's probably more powerful than Hawkeye.
I'm not gonna say powerful, but the thing is, it's more of their story.
Yeah,
like Iron Man's first movie, he had enough story to ride the whole.
Well, obviously, Wolverine has a lot of story to be explored, which they have,
which is why he's the first one that branches out. But I mean, Cyclops' story.
Yeah, I would have loved to see the Magneto movie they were going to do at one point. If X-Men Origins was better, like because I love that scene in the first movie. We talked about that with, like, him in the concentration camp and like not during World War II, and like I love World War II stuff. I would have loved to see that explored more. Like,
it turned into First Class, that's
right? And then we get into the Cold War.
But I do agree with what you're saying. It's like, it would have been great to, like, see some of these characters explored. Because I would love to see Storm, because Storm does have a much more richer.
First Class did get us to see some of that in Days of Future Past, which is great. I actually really like those movies when we start to kind of go back and see some of that. X-Men Origins Wolverine, different story.
But you could, but things with Storm, you could do a Black Panther version of it, because that's what she's on. I don't actually know which country she's from in Africa, but she has an entire backstory before she becomes this. But that is developed later on. I believe that's developed later on in the comics. Her first appearance was in X-Men comics before her own, right?
Her first appearance was not all the characters started out in X-Men 1. I mean,
so I don't think she was one of the first.
Her first appearance was in, once again, 1975 in Giant Size X-Men. She was one of the new X-Men. So, some of them came later. I mean, once again, Wolverine came first in Hulk 181, and then eventually appeared for the first time in X-Men 94. So they definitely appeared later on a lot of the time. But the X-Men themselves first came together as a team. So.
We're in Stryker's lair now, so there's bubbling vats of adamantium. So adamantium is silver, it's not green. We talked about there's a lot of bubbling vats of green liquid in a lot of these movies, but it's not green.
This is gray.
Yeah.
But still a bubbling vat of liquid.
Yeah.
So Wolverine and Yoriko are fighting now, and I love that scene when the claws come out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the real Lady Deathstrike. This is where we get like more of... so we don't get to learn any unique backstory between these two characters, but once again, there is a backstory between these two characters in Japan and their relationship. And they were love interest. So,
right. That's why I hate... This is probably the one part I dislike the most about X2. Mm-hmm. Is I wanted to see that relationship.
Well, they
turn
Lady Deathstrike into a henchman.
Yeah, that's essentially why she becomes Lady Deathstrike. It has a lot to do with, I think, the scorn from Wolverine and him rejecting her. So I definitely remember that being part of why she becomes who she becomes. So there's really a big hatred for Wolverine in the comics and in the animated series with her and him.
Their fight seems so emotional.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't have many lines in this movie.
She has
like
one
line.
2 lines or something. Yeah.
Wait. She has healing powers here.
Yes, no,
she didn't have that before, right?
No, she doesn't have that. No, she has that in this movie. And this is the one bad thing about just the X-Men series in general, which they did with Deadpool as well, is they altered some of the hero's powers just so they could be combative to the hero. I mean, some of the villain's powers so he can be combative to the hero. That's why they turned Deadpool into what he was.
Who was he before?
If you remember in Wolverine Origins, Deadpool. They sew his mouth shut and they give him all the powers of like a bunch of mutants.
Well, he was the bastardization of Deadpool in that movie.
Wait, so Deadpool didn't like have a comedic flair in the comics?
Oh, he's full.
Oh no, he did.
Oh yeah,
okay.
But no, but they bastardized him in the movie.
Right.
They turned him into some like Frankenstein.
Yes.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
That couldn't talk and.
Well, that got corrected at the end of Deadpool.
Exactly, it did.
Don't tell me I haven't seen it.
All right.
But,
Martin hasn't seen
it. But no, if you there's an interview with Ryan Reynolds when he told them at the time when he read this part, he said, "Listen, I think the fans would probably be pissed off with this version of Deadpool."
Yes.
And they pretty much told him, "Well, if you don't want to play it, you don't have to play it." Pretty much, this is how it's going to be. You don't want to do it, we'll get somebody else.
Well, I thought Deadpool in Wolverine Origins, I thought he was badass. Like I didn't hate him. I knew the name Deadpool.
It's just no different than. I don't disagree with you. He's an interestingly cool character. Well, he's a cool character, but it's just in any scenario, if you changed up a character so drastically that you're like, I'm not getting anything even remotely close to the source material.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, okay, there was elements of Deadpool with him, but it really was just far off. So,
Well, the beginning Deadpool, like Ryan Reynolds actually talking, and like at the very beginning in Africa,
that's the closest you get to.
Yes.
Right.
Well, no, that's the closest you get to Deadpool in Origins, and then later on, they just sew his mouth shut, which is not Deadpool whatsoever. No, and they give him all these they give him these claws, and they give him Cyclops' like. He gets laser ability and all that stuff.
Well, they turned him into like mutant X, whatever.
Yeah,
at past Wolverine, he's like it just didn't make any sense.
So, Lady Deathstrike. So she just got pumped full of adamantium. So she's toast. Now, when she fell into the water, the lighting in that room makes it look very green. The water looks very green. So another vat of green liquid that somebody falls into. So I'm just saying it's that we check that box for the superhero movie as well.
Yeah. I didn't expect the X-Men to come together so quickly in the second one. Like, I didn't expect Magneto to be working with the X-Men. I don't even remember as a kid if I knew like that was an option in storytelling to have your hero become allies with your villain. But I just
fight
remember
a greater threat. Yeah.
Right. I just remember as a kid, like, wow, this is good. Like when I saw Magneto like raise his hand and stop the plane from falling, I was genuinely surprised. Like, how the F does this happen?
And why? Yeah.
Right. And so what's funny, and I'm going to go off superhero films. This is regarding Hamilton. My niece is like 10, and she came to me, well, she's 12. She came to me and she was like, how did Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, like, how did they fight each other? How did he get killed? They were best friends. And I'm just like, Wait till you watch X-Men. That's like my thought in my head. Like,
well, and there's the famous historical. I mean, I don't know when the saying came, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I think that's what you're playing into here with that notion.
Yeah. Another story we've been taught.
Yeah.
Someone was taught early on. It's been written in books, and now we take it as canon, and we create things off of that canon that creates more canon.
Yep.
Yeah. Storytelling, man. That's how impactful storytelling is. It's been here since the beginning of time. Well, the beginning of humans. And
aliens.
And aliens.
So you're getting some nice outdoor Canadian shots. And they filmed up in Canada in an area where there's usually a lot of snow. But of course, the time that they went to film this movie, there was like no snow. So they had to add a lot of fake snow around.
Which, of course, that is where Wolverine is originally from. He's the Canadian superhero. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny.
Right.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's a Canadian superhero. That's
Because
right.
it's just kind of an origin movie for him a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
And this is the thing is, Magneto actually wants to help Mutant-Kind, so he does want to authentically help Professor X.
Mm-hmm. Wait, who does he want? What's up?
He stopped Stryker's son.
Well, he's going the opposite route here. He's about to tell Xavier to kill all the humans on Earth. So
Well, but he wants to help the mutants. So that's the thing. It's
Right,
like he
correct.
wants to help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Two sides of the story.
but that's the
Helping
that's
the
the
mutants.
It's the radicalization of them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're right. Helping the mutants means killing humans.
Right. Which is just crazy to think about that. You're going to let every human on Earth die? I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Well, yeah,
That's what he's about to
he
do.
believes he's the superior race.
Yeah.
Which
like-
is actually kind of plays in the fact that he is actually coming from a concentration camp because as a kid he was tortured by Hitler.
But,
So
I mean,
think about that.
That
turned
cycle
his own-
though.
Yeah,
But mutants
He
are
turned
such a
his worst
small part of the population. You think about it, if he wipes out all the humans, it's like, who's going to empty your garbage can at the end of the week, Magneto? Who's going to serve you at the restaurant next time? Who's going to stock the shelves in the grocery store next time you go out, Magneto?
Right.
Might not all be mutants. Like,
Who's
the
going to
world's
bring you
gonna
all
sh-
your fucking avocados?
Who's
in
going to
LA?
manufacture, like, all your helmet and stuff? You got to know some metalworking mutants or whatever, you know?
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I don't think he thinks that far
He
ahead.
doesn't think about those
no,
things.
no, he's
Like, mutants are what percent of the population, would you say?
Oh,
Like, I don't know,
God. I would say less
5
than
or
1%. No,
1?
even less.
Right, so it's like the world's not going to be able to function. He won't be able to, like, live a normal life. I don't know.
Okay, so hold on. Question: Where we know Avengers takes place in New York. Where does Thor take place?
and he shuts this.
Some
they're in like
town.
they're in like the Southwest somewhere, aren't they?
Iron Man takes place where?
L.A. is the first one, and then
LA.
it goes to New
Yeah.
York.
Okay, well my theory is debunked because Iron Man
This
takes
takes place in New York.
Yeah.
Most superhero movies are New York. It's one reason, like we talked about during Iron Man, Favreau set the first Iron Man excuse me, in Los Angeles because everything else set on the East Coast.
Oh, that looks painful.
Yeah.
That punch really should have knocked him out. I mean, he's got full-on adamantium in his body, so you can't...
Well, he probably
you can't punch
he didn't
him
swing his hardest. That's all.
He shouldn't have to. They showcased that in the first X-Men when he's fighting in the cage in the beginning and he barely hits the guy and the guy goes down. So
Yeah.
he really shouldn't have had to hit that hard.
And he doesn't remember volunteering for this procedure.
No.
Okay, so why'd he just from the the X-Men films that we've seen, why'd he volunteer for this program again?
I don't remember. Like
Because
we
he was
talked
trying
about
Well,
the-
it shows in Origins, but
He was trying to get back at Sabretooth, right?
Yeah, his brother.
yeah. Well,
I don't remember. I don't.
well, the thing is,
I don't
both
know
of
the
them,
comics,
Sabretooth actually volunteers too, but
Yeah.
he doesn't do it to Sabretooth later on, and so he works with Sabretooth and.
Well, Stryker
Because
says he
Sabretooth
can't handle
strikes
the
Right,
yeah,
Stryker knows.
exactly.
That's brought up. So adamantium was brought about because of a superhero, a Wolverine, a beast. His emotion that he feels for the woman he loves getting hurt. That goes back to the Hulk that we did last week. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that Hulk, he actually his emotional growth and whatever, like I don't know,
transformation.
like, this transformation, I guess is a good word, happened because he saw his love interest get
Right.
hurt. Like think about all these men superheroes whose not necessarily origin, but like something happens that propels them to shift and transform into something else because of watching the woman that they love get hurt. Like that's another story that
love
we've been told.
interest is a strong reason for in
Right,
the comics at least.
that's Batman
for something to happen. Yeah,
that's
it doesn't necessarily have to be a
Wolverine.
woman. It could be your parents, like in Batman.
Right.
I mean, it could be a lot of things, but that is usually a defining, reason that I guess would project a character to become who they are or do something that they feel they need to do.
Yeah.
right. And so, is that what the superhero films were missing before?
You mean like this one?
This is and like all the Batmans that happened before. Is that what they were missing before? Like that emotional aspect of really feeling.
If we're talking like the '90s Batman,
Yeah.
but
I
those
didn't
were
feel
meant to
that.
be campy,
Probably,
so they were gonna kind of be just what they were gonna be. But,
Right. That's why X-Men was so important because it wasn't just about the powers. It was about
Right.
their emotions and how they deal with and create relationships and deal with the world.
I mean, even in Blade, you kind of get that a little bit with
Yeah.
that with the girl character. I mean, he
Right.
does feel for her,
Right.
but then again, he just loves killing vampires. Oh,
He thought he got away, but
Stryker thought.
yeah.
So now we have the full force of Cerebro going towards the humans instead of the
Which later on
mutants.
will play into the fear of mutants because
Very true.
this is obviously a mutant power enough to kill everyone in the world,
Right.
including the president of the United States.
So
Right.
so now as audience members, we're reminded of what the president went through in that opening scene of the
Yeah.
opening of this film.
See, it's like the bad guys, they're just going about it the wrong way. You don't kill all the humans.
Right.
You got to work with them. You can't. This is just going to make things worse. Like, Martin, you've watched that show Humans on AMC, right? The robots. This past season is the same thing. You had a group of the synths, as they call
I
them, the
didn't see
robots,
season 2.
who are more extreme, and they instead of you have the good guys who are trying to like work with the humans and make it work. These extremist ones are like doing terrorist acts and killing
Right.
humans and things like that, which only is going to make things worse. Only going to
Right.
make the relations work, but they don't see it that way, And
Yeah.
that's exactly what's happening here too.
So it's like there's one group that tries to better themselves and that only ends up alienating themselves from the rest of the population and the rest of society. So that happens. I feel like that happens all the time. Just think about what Kaepernick is doing right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many people who are taken away from his mission and really don't understand his mission and then kind of influenced by other people, maybe radicals if you want to
Yeah.
show that. And so this is just a representation of what we're going through right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just have to point out how fucking cool this was. Do you realize that? Because interesting thing about when comic characters are created, they have like unique elements of the way their powers work and stuff. So for Nightcrawler, he needs to see where he's going when he teleports.
Right.
He just teleported them into Xavier's mind, essentially. They're in that room, but they don't see Xavier. They should see Xavier.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's so cool. I didn't even think about that before.
weird.
They see it. They see
They're
his
really
illusion.
in his mind. That's essentially
Yeah.
where they are because they're seeing the girl who is being projected by David, or at least they're seeing
Or-
what David wants them to see.
Right? Maybe
Yeah.
because the other mind is so powerful it can project that image.
Yeah, actually, I take it back. It's clearly because I remember that now. Now she goes all storm cold
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah. She
But
gets
still,
called.
it's somebody's
faces
mind.
them
Yeah,
out.
They're in somebody's mind right now.
it's just interesting
Well,
that's the way they portrayed it.
they're inside the actual cerebral thing. It's just they see what's in
What
his
he
mind.
wants them to see.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like they're not physically in his mind, but they're mentally
Right,
in his
yeah.
mind.
Then they're in Xavier's mind
Yeah, they're mentally
because
in
that girl's
Xavier's
not
mind.
there. At the end of the day, that
exactly.
girl's
Well,
not physically there.
I think
so
what
the fact they see him is that they're in.
Yeah,
Professor
I
X's
take it back.
mind.
Though.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is David Stryker's son is just he probably saw them come in and projected what he wants them to see, what he has Xavier
Right.
seeing.
No,
That's
yeah,
how I take
mentally,
it. I don't
yeah.
think they're actually in his mind. Now that I think about it, but
Well, they're
but
mentally in
sort of
his
they are. I
mind.
mean, yeah, if you think about it,
But this is what
Pyro's going with the bad guys.
I was one of the bad guys.
Just think though, if they're in Xavier's mind,
Yeah.
and Xavier still has the power to tell Storm to essentially kill this image I'm having. Like, how powerful is Xavier now? You saw him do it against Apocalypse.
Right.
Well, the thing is that this mutant is only taking directions from Stryker. Mystique's version of Stryker told him to kill only humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he switched to humans. So he's not going to just switch.
Right.
And so once he's affected this mutant by freezing him.
Right.
He sees reality.
Yeah.
Oh, now they can see.
It's because they froze him out, and so he couldn't keep affecting his powers affected.
Can you imagine though if that wasn't the original like climax? Can you imagine, like, because imagine what you were saying, Chad, earlier about Halle Berry becoming like a bigger actress and demanding more action in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That might not have
I don't know
been
if she demanded it or they just wanted to capitalize on the fact that she just won an Oscar, you know.
Very possible.
But this might not have been the original version that they wanted to shoot.
X-Men 3, she did like demand more. She's a producer of 3. Her and Wolverine got the most lines, and they were both producers.
Got it.
Right.
I'm not sure how far along in the process they did all that, but I know that they had screenwriters work on 2 different scripts for this movie, and then they ended up combining those and taking the best ideas from each one and then refining it from there. So because there's a lot of stuff to
refining process.
There's a lot of stuff to story and characters to fit in this movie.
People, and just think, like, even what I just brought up could have been a possibility. And then there was 2 other possibilities that refuted that. So people who don't work in Los Angeles don't understand that, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
They just look at this final version and they criticize the final version, but they don't know what happened in the wave to create that final version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the movie goes through a lot of iterations. I mean, you've seen on DVDs, you know, deleted scenes and things. Somebody has to decide to cut those out and, you know, stuff like that.
Oh, I'm disturbed by what we're going to be watching soon because it leads to the eventual storyline for number 3, and I hate that movie. I'm not going to look forward to watching it whenever we finally do it, but I know we're going to have to do it eventually.
You're not going to look forward to watching Wolverine. He's not going to look forward to watching Man of Steel. I'm not going to look forward to watching...
I don't know. I'm looking forward to watch all these movies.
I'm not going to...
I'm looking forward to watch Steel.
I'm interested in revisiting all of them,
Yes.
even the ones I don't like.
X-Men 3 is like the way they approach Deadpool and Wolverine Origins, but like times a million. Like the way they treat a lot of the storylines and the characters, Brett Ratner, it just made no.
See, the thing is,
sense.
my problem with X3 is the fact that it's not. It's more the fact they just turn it more into an action movie and less about the story. That's my biggest problem with it.
Xavier dying, Jean Grey getting her powers the way she does, and becoming the Phoenix the way she does. It just none of it makes sense. But
I mean, to me, I found it makes sense. I didn't think it was that involving. It was just more of like a summon. It might as well have been a Transformers.
I agree.
Whoa.
By the way,
I mean, not Transformers 1, but like Transformers 2.
I think we just saw Jubilee. By the way, Jubilation Lee from X-Men 244. I think we just got that character.
Rogue, why are you trying to fly the X-Jet?
But that's such a good moment, though. Like, our future X-Men leaders, they're still teenagers and young kids. Like, thinking back, we're in our 30s now. Teenagehood was like 10 years ago. More than that, 12, 13 years ago for us. Like, the fact that she actually manned the Black Jet, that was called Black Jet?
I don't know, X-Jet?
X-Jet?
X-Jet. It's called the X-Jet,
I think it's the X-Jet, I mean,
the fact that she did that's huge for her character. That's such a good moment in the theaters. I remember it.
And who's this kid that Wolverine?
This is just a stray kid.
Earlier
he was the one who had a forked tongue. If you remember in the first team,
right, in the museum. Okay,
yeah,
forked tongue.
But
is that like the
what a lame power that is.
Probably
they all didn't have full power.
With the ladies, maybe, but I don't know.
See, the problem with the mutant gene is that it could just be randomly something, just like Beast grew fur.
Well, Beast turned.
He got strong, but he grew fur. It was kind of like good.
But him growing fur and turning blue was because of that serum that he created in the movies, right? He was just he just had the feet that were like hands.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
In the
that's right, because he tried to fix himself.
Because again, he was trying to impress a girl and get it in. And what happened? He ended up
like Nightcrawler looking like a devil. Okay.
Yeah,
that's just an example. It's kind of like if from Fantastic Four, the Thing, his ability, which is not mutant, but his ability is he's a rock monster.
Right.
He can't be a regular person.
There's the forked tongue again.
It's forked tongue kid. His power sucks, but he's still
Wolverine
a mutant.
on his dog tags. Is that
Yeah.
in the other movies?
Well, yeah, no,
No.
it's in the that's kind of his code name.
In
Or
X-Men
whatever.
Origins,
Yes.
she gives it to him. She
Yeah.
gives him the dog tags. The girl, the character that Sabretooth quote unquote kills in the beginning, who she actually isn't dead. But
How in the hell can you keep the timelines accurate? Like
I can't.
the people,
I can't keep it straight.
I don't
not
know.
even
Well, no,
us. How do the filmmakers keep that timeline accurate?
Somebody
They can't.
wasn't keeping a series Bible.
No,
or
but
something.
it's not about the Bible. It's like you can't.
no, you're
keep
right. You
that.
really can.
There's
At
no
some point,
way.
it's gonna get messed up.
No,
You're
the thing
gonna
is,
jump into
no,
the
the
past,
thing is
yeah.
they can. It's just that you have to have someone like a Kevin Feige who's
Keeping track of that.
who's keeping track.
No, but
'Cause-
even then we've had issues with the timeline. We have.
well, with MCU,
Yeah, there has been. It was Spider-Man: Homecoming was apparently it was either 6 or 8 years after Avengers,
yes.
and this was a thing of contention.
Doesn't line up.
And it was Avengers 2 or something, or Civil War was like a certain time after. It didn't make any sense.
Right,
Well-
that has not lined
So-
up. You can blame
well,
that on
did.
Sony.
well, no.
Sony,
Well, I'll say this because they actually
I
played.
don't
Black Panther came out earlier this year, and it technically was a week after Civil War, but then Infinity War was 2 years after.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Yes,
there's,
but the thing is, that's because I mean, schedule wise, Spider-Man: Homecoming threw everyone's schedule out.
okay, so that's
Black
just like
Panther should come out
timeline,
early.
but not like
Yeah.
continuity of like how things happen. Like this has been rewritten because they didn't have such a long-term plan.
Right,
for
no,
this. They
that's
were
the
doing
problem.
It one movie at a time, where the Marvels
Yes.
run a completely different way.
But I think Martin's point
Yes.
comes across, which is it is not easy,
Right.
and kind of expected that there's going to be timeline issues.
because you might
Right.
be hindered by the storytelling, where you're like, "Oh, we can't do that because we already showed that this
Yeah.
is how this happened." And
You're not gonna
they
catch
were
up
just
to
like,
them, sorry.
they were they were a
Well,
little more loose with it.
the issue with this and the problem with this is like they were treating each movie like it's its own movie. Yeah, they did try to keep a little bit of a continuous timeline going.
Yeah.
They tried to do it with the origins and stuff like that too. But they were like, you know something? If the audience, we'll prioritize the audience and prioritize the action of the movie, and the movie being a big blockbuster over the
Yep.
storyline.
Right.
Whereas MCU doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
MCU will try to keep the storyline continuity. When a new director signs on to MCU, they have to follow all these guidelines
Yeah.
Yeah,
when they
Oh,
make
yeah.
their movie.
yeah. There's bullet points they have to
Yeah.
hit, I'm
So,
sure.
so I gotta point out, why couldn't she just do everything she's doing in the plane?
What?
Why'd she have to get out of the plane and do everything she's
Jean
doing?
Grey, yeah, I don't know. That's
Well,
a good.
she has to be
Yeah.
there. She has to like
She
literally
doesn't need
be
to be
there to split the water.
Why
needs-
did she split the water?
She
though?
needs
What's
to
the
be
purpose?
there to perpetuate the Noah story.
No, not Noah. Moses.
Moses
We
story.
don't, we
Moses.
don't need Moses
Sorry.
splitting the water.
Moses,
we don't
uh,
need more biblical references.
Part
If-
of the Red Sea.
If she was in the plane, she might blow the windows out. You know what I'm saying? It's not
I
like
still don't get that reference.
Well, Noah, there was the great flood.
it's
I don't know.
her power is an actual force. It doesn't just go through
But yeah,
stuff.
okay, but she like flipped all the controls inside the plane and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could.
well, that's a
so-
little telekinesis.
So can't she like control the water from while she's safely inside
I'm
the
just
plane?
saying this is a little bit of a weird story progression
Oh.
for me to just caught. I feel like she like Bryan Singer's reaching a little bit with this one to cause this to happen, but that's fine. So anyway, we're about to see her become the first time the Phoenix. X-Men 101. Big book, sells for a lot of money right
Yeah.
now.
Well, it makes sense because not makes
Oh.
sense, but it's cool to see that Jean Grey took over Professor X.
Oh,
But
she
look,
just
there's
told
a
people
lot of
little-
power.
Here
She
we
actually
go.
has to turn to the
little
Phoenix to do it.
manifestation, maybe starting
At this point, I was yelling. I was hitting my friend and like, dude, it's Phoenix. It's Phoenix. It's Phoenix. He's like,
Did you
what
know?
the hell is that?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, I saw this in theaters.
Oh well, you saw the animated series, so you
Yeah,
knew
that's
it.
how,
I didn't know
the
anything.
Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, the Phoenix saga, then the Dark Phoenix saga. Yeah.
This is equivalent to like you hitting me on the shoulder and saying, "Oh my god!" When we were watching Split.
Oh, I know. I was grabbing you and shaking you. Yes.
This,
Well, yeah.
that feeling that you had. That's the same feeling I had when I was at
Feelings
12,
never
13,
been replicated.
seeing Phoenix.
Oh yeah, nice. So now, is there still a love triangle in this between Wolverine and Jean Grey?
Well, the
and
tip is taken.
Cyclops?
The tip is gone.
Oh.
No,
this is-
but there is.
I have to say this is real. I had a friend who.
Lost Jean Grey.
You're right. I had a friend who died in his Honda coming back from Vegas, and then he had his girlfriend, and then he had a girl who was talking to him at the same time, and they both had a moment, just like Wolverine and what's his name had
Cyclops.
That's real.
Scott Summers, yeah.
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 So even their hatred for each other brings brings in a sort of emotion that can link them together in this moment here.
Yeah. I can see that.
I mean, they don't really hate each other per se. It's just
it's a rivalry.
It's a rivalry.
Yeah.
A macho rivalry.
Hatred,
But like when a girl's involved, I think
that.
hate is huge. Hate is expected.
There's love involved.
I mean,
hate
calling
involved
from us guys, yeah.
I don't hate anyone.
Nearly annihilating our way of life.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to know that that's what did in the X-Men in the end was Professor X.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can kind of relate to their sentiment, their feelings if you
Right.
think about it. I mean, the thought that one being could potentially annihilate all life on Earth, that is kind of something to maybe fight against, but...
Right.
So the Sentinels were originally supposed to be part of this movie, but got cut out for budget reasons.
Really?
So then we don't end up seeing those till Days of Future Past.
Not
Was
true.
it 8
Not
million?
true.
Oh wait, do we see a version of it in something
We
else?
do.
Well, yeah.
Next X-Men movie.
Oh,
We see
okay.
it here.
It's like a
don't we?
cameo.
No.
Oh, okay.
no,
Well, they don't
last
become
one.
a major plot point really till Days of
Cigar.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
And the cigar plays. No. The beginning of Wolverine Origins, right? That's when we see the Sentinels, or no? It's the
No.
beginning of X.
No, in the
Right.
in the hollow. No, what they call it, the hollow,
The hollow
chamber
deck or something.
hollow-
Yeah, in
it's the
X-Men
hol-
3, at the end...
Last Stand.
At the end of Last Stand, there's a quick moment where
It's at the
you see
beginning.
like the lights of their eyes or
Oh.
something.
It's the beginning.
They
when
were
they're
also
training.
supposed to have
They're
the
training at the
danger
beginning.
room in this. But
Yeah,
that
the
also
danger
got-
room. That's what it is.
That
the
also
danger
got
room.
cut out, but you don't see that till
X3.
3.
Yeah, Last Stand.
Was it 9 million that would add it to the budget? Do you remember?
of this movie.
If you
Oh, it was
add
like
the Sentinels?
35 or something.
It was
Yeah,
35,
it would have been even more to do those for the visual effects at the time. For those, probably would have been pretty intense and expensive. This is a cool scene too, where the storm comes in and freezes everything in the Oval Office. Yeah, like
That's Professor Xavier. That's not Storm.
We're laughing at Nightcrawler
I said
saying
the storm
hi.
outside the window.
Oh yes,
yeah.
well, that is correct.
Yes.
We're laughing at Nightcrawler waving highs to the president.
Yeah. He's great. So good. And everybody
He was
freezes
next
around.
to he was next to George Washington's picture.
Ah, that's funny. Huh. So this is Professor trying to Xavier persuade the president that they're really
Kitty
not that
cried.
bad and they're there on their side, and that's no easy task. But they managed to get him to do the right thing. So.
Yeah.
That's it.
But it is. I mean, it should be concerning to the president that they could just sneak into the Oval Office like this.
Right.
How did they get in there? Or is this all in his mind?
Well, no, he
mind?
froze everything.
Yeah, he froze everything like he did before. In the
Yeah,
past.
but like, then he had to like wheel onto the grounds and up the the wheelchair ramp in the
He
back
wheeled
of
on.
the
You
White
don't know.
House.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
that
got
house maybe that room is right next to the driveway. Like
What, the Oval Office? Yeah, I'm sure it's right
it
next to
was,
it,
right?
I think
just-
we're
I just
overthinking this.
No. I
There's
just
some
watched,
ramps
Yeah.
left over from when FDR was in there.
I just watched comedian cars having coffee or getting coffee.
Oh, and he goes with
When
Obama.
he goes to
Yeah,
Obama.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like right there. The road's right
That's true.
there.
That's true.
The road to perdition.
Ooh, influence.
That's right. It's influenced this film, right?
Yeah.
I would be curious how powerful Rogue really is. Like, I wonder, could she make a storm across the entire world? I just don't know.
Rogue or Storm?
Storm. Sorry,
Storm.
thank you. Storm.
I don't think.
So you don't think
I think she
Storm's
can do it in
making
her area.
hurricanes right now? You'll think it's Storm
Here's-
that's doing
I
it?
don't think Florence is because
This
of her.
cracks me up though when the lights come on. What if like they come on and like Xavier's still like wheeling out?
I know,
the
it's
back
like, yeah.
door, like, oh, well,
He's in the elevator. He's in the elevator right now.
A movie where they probably did that.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You worked on that, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. The title sequence at least.
Did you hear that, Capers? Chad, our own resident movie nerd, worked on the spoof superhero movie.
Leslie Nielsen was in that, so it was legit.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I
he's in
see.
every spoof.
Yeah.
I mean,
He wasn't in
until
Wayne's Brothers spinoffs.
Well,
No, he's in the scary
No.
movies, starting with what 3? I think? Yeah.
after Wayne's Brothers, yeah.
And what Chad did for that movie was he was the sandwich guy for craft services.
Right.
So,
Uh,
huge role.
Haters.
It's some prop stuff. Yeah. Well, no, honestly, it was only the title sequence I worked on, which
okay.
we'll get into that another time. But
Yeah, you got into...
here's a little factoid about. I believe this scene was filmed after the fact. I don't know if it was part of reshoots or something, but they had to go to England to film this one scene on a set because Hugh Jackman was already there filming Van Helsing.
Oh.
He'd already started Van Helsing, and so if you notice here, his hair looks a little bit higher than the rest of the movie because
He's wearing a wig?
He had grown his hair really long to play Van Helsing, so they had to fit a Wolverine wig on top of his long hair, and so that's why his hair looks a little bigger. Because this scene was, he instead of being filmed in Canada, this was much after the fact across the ocean. So
Crazy.
Yep, a little movie magic for you.
It's
really
a little
interesting.
crucial to the stories. Wondering why it wasn't in the first shoot, but hey,
Who knows? Well, they always budget in. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Especially the Marvel movies are very famous for doing it now. Star Wars movies do it now. These big movies, they know they're gonna. They shoot the movie as they shoot it. They preview, they edit it. But these movies are so expensive, and there's so much on the line with the intellectual property and stuff. They want to make sure they get it right, so they test it in front of audiences and stuff like that, and then, based on that feedback or in front of executives or people like that, they figure out what they need to go back and reshoot and tweak, and they do that. And they build that into the budget and the scheduling. Sometimes it happens it could be 6 months to a year after they've actually filmed. So people have to change their appearances. They might have to rebuild some sets, and cover up some wigs, and
actors who are already into other projects,
other roles. That's like
Superman
at the end of the Avengers, them eating shawarma. Chris Evans had already grown a beard for something, Snowpiercer.
Yes.
And so that's why he has they had to put a prosthetics over his beard, and that's why in that shawarma scene he's got his hand on his face.
Yeah, he blocks his beard. Yeah,
right. That was a late addition.
So Professor Xavier does this whole little thing where he looked through the window, and you can tell he's kind of gazing into the distance in his mind of where Jean was and what happened. I think you get the cue that he felt something.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's still alive.
Isn't this narration exactly what Xavier says at the beginning of the first movie?
No.
Oh, is it?
I think it's the reused monologue about mutation.
Really?
Yeah.
And here's where we get the first look at the Phoenix.
Interesting. I did not know.
Which is great because who did the monologue, opening monologue for the first X-Men?
I think it's Xavier.
No, it's Xavier.
But
It's
Jean was the
Patrick
first
Stewart.
character we saw.
Right. Here we go. I did not know what this meant.
Phoenix.
That's a cool.
I
Credits.
remember.
I
I remember watching that and seeing that scene and thinking, I am so excited for the Phoenix. I was so juiced.
Yeah.
And they messed it up for me so freaking
Singer should have
bad.
stayed on.
Well, Singer wanted to go do Superman.
I know.
Would you blame him though?
No, I don't blame him. That's
do.
the biggest iconic.
I blame
character in the
Singer.
history of
Oh, no
comic books. I
Stan
don't
Lee
blame him.
cameo in this.
Whoa.
Oh no, there is.
I think there's 3. I believe he does not appear in 3 of the.
But was there
X-Men
not one in the
movies.
first one?
No, he was the hot dog vendor in the first one.
That's right. I
At the
wonder
beach.
why he didn't do it.
This is John Ottman. This is kind of rare. He's the co-editor and the composer to this movie. He's an editor/composer. So he's actually, I think, starting with this movie, he's edited and composed the music for all Bryan Singer's movies since this one. I don't know if this is their first team up. I'm not sure, but
Dude, Kevin Feige was listed as a co-producer here.
So Marvel Studios
crazy
itself
when you
hadn't
think
been. He was at Marvel at the time, but Marvel Studios, their actual production studio, hadn't been formed yet at this point because MCU didn't start till 5 years after this. But
We need to get a documentary one day on Kevin Feige. I mean, I like Kevin Feige or Feige.
Feige
Feige or Feige? Feige the man is what it should be called.
Well, he's getting some big award.
Yeah, I just think about his progression through the Marvel series would be really interesting.
Yeah, I saw him at Comic-Con. I saw him at CinemaCon maybe 3 years ago in Vegas, and I think they were premiering what's that spy movie with Melissa McCarthy and is it called Spy?
That was a few years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I saw him at CinemaCon in Vegas. And he was a natural ham. He owned that stage, which means that he owns everything that he works on here, and because he's had that experience, for him to be involved with these early on Marvel films and then go on to head that studio, it just makes sense.
And that's what you want.
Yeah,
that's what you want. You want someone who you know is going to really care about the material, the source material, and have been there from start to finish. So
the Donner's Company got a little shout out in the company credits at the beginning of this, and that's cool because I've mentioned before the first one, but I interned there when I first got to Los Angeles.
Cool.
So when I was there, they were filming X-Men Origins Wolverine. So yeah, the Donner's company, Lauren Schuler Donner and her husband Richard Donner, who directed the Lethal Weapon movies and Superman the movie and all that. They have a production company. Lauren Schuler Donner has produced all the X-Men movies.
She's a huge producer.
She is,
massive.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone knows that name, at least in the entertainment industry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we like always we watch the credits. Maybe see somebody we recognize from other movies, or just to look at the interesting
Nathan Schroeder.
roles.
No, I don't know.
Nah.
Brent Boats.
Michael Bethune.
See, sometimes people have interesting names too.
Tim Merkel.
But,
Can I be honest? The people usually I've noticed in credits that have the most unique names, the location people, like the truck, like the drivers, like they always like it'll be
all
like
Teamsters.
Mike the Gangsta,
Yeah.
Dex, or something like. There's always like a nickname in quotes or something.
We love our Teamsters.
We do, yeah. Give it to the Teamsters.
Just stay on the good side,
Like the transportation people is what I'm saying. Yeah, they usually have like funniest names. I think.
Well, these are mostly Canadians, probably, in this crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Vancouver crew we're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Jay St. Louis, like that's so Canadian, right?
So, Capers, we want to know a lot more about you. Talk to us. Tell us what you thought about the film that you watched. It's always fun to see and hear about someone's first experience watching an X-Men movie or a superhero movie at large. So, get in those comments, man, on YouTube. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want to hear.
I want to know.
Tell us what we did wrong.
No, hey.
And we'll tell you things. We'll tell you
constructive criticism.
Yeah. No. Hey, say something.
Say something. We'll tell you that the film school dropout here looks like Hannibal Buress. He might be Hannibal Buress.
Could be
I don't know.
You
Today,
don't know?
apparently
This whole
today, Harold
podcast
Burst
could be a stunt for the Eric Andre show. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
This whole thing is an elaborate stunt. Oh man!
I wish I probably stayed for these credits. I don't know why. I always stayed for credits when I was younger. Did you guys?
Yeah. Oh, I always
Little
have.
bit.
We've talked about this,
Now and
but
then.
especially now.
Yeah. No.
We work in the industry, know people who work on movies, but I have always been credits person because it's for somebody who's before we get to LA and start working in the industry, you're fascinated by it, you want to see what people do, and there's always interesting information in there, and to listen to the music. You get to hear more of the score to the film. It's like,
Do you remember at the DGA? It's almost like you were forced to say.
No, that's kind of where my name will come out a little bit, because when I went to film school, if you felt like you had to watch the credits, like it was. You felt like it was almost an assignment.
Yeah.
It felt like you had to. I enjoyed them for a while, but then I realized I watch movies for the story.
Yep.
And not to discount people who work on it, because I do work in the industry as well.
Yeah.
But I watch movies for the story. So
yeah.
Well, like I said,
I will just did. I will run to the bathroom occasionally but I come back.
Right.
But I come back to see the end. I come back to see the end.
And just to reiterate, Capers, once again, Martin, Chad, and I used to work at the Directors Guild together, and they have theaters at their location that they screen movies for guild members. So that is the reference I was making when I said that we would stay for the credits there, because when you work in entertainment and you're a bunch of directors and watch a movie together, you're probably going to stay for the credits, because you probably do know a lot of people that were working on that.
I feel like it's cutthroat out here. Like, I was in Santa Monica watching what was the film, the guy that did what was that big musical that won 2 years ago?
La La Land.
La La Land.
Damien Chazelle.
What's the movie we did before Whiplash? We went to go see Whiplash.
Oh,
and there was a guy there, and I guess a woman was talking in the back row, but she could hear him, but we couldn't. Suddenly, in the middle of you hear him get up and say, "Shut the fuck up!" Like, literally dropped an F-bomb in the middle of the theater, because if you're talking during a movie in LA, you might as well be the worst person.
At certain theaters, you have to go.
Yeah.
If you go to like the ArcLight, or they take it really seriously, or like a place where like a lot of industry people, some of these Santa Monica or West Side theaters, like maybe some of the general AMCs, like not as much, because obviously there's still plenty of people in LA who are not in the industry, but it's a smaller like the ones where the industry people frequent.
It's just bad taste. Like, you paid to experience something that requires your full attention. To take it away from yourself or anyone around you is just not cool.
Because movies are huge. They're one of the biggest staples in our lives.
Everybody sees movies. Everybody goes to the movies. We all have that. We all
I've
have that
seen
in
movies,
common.
yeah.
Right. When you go to an interview, there might be a question that just shooting the shit. People trying to get to know you. What's your favorite movie? That's because they want to learn about you as a person. Your favorite movie tells a lot about you as a person.
Yep.
So.
And can we end this, or at least can we say what our favorite movies are? Because I'm actually kind of curious now.
I'm pretty sure we said it, but Chris.
Have we said it?
Yeah.
I think we went over
did?
it one
Okay.
time.
Yeah. We
Let's
said
do it
it.
again.
Well, I
It's
know
on-
in-
it's
in-
in-
Why don't you read our bios and you'll know.
Yeah, there
Our
you
bios
go.
are on
That's
Instagram.
true,
Go,
right,
go to
in our bios.
Instagrams.
But we'll say it again.
Sure.
The
We'll say it
Instagram.
again. I'll start with mine. My favorite movie is The Village.
Okay.
I say in one sentence about that film. Watch The Village from the perspective of post 9/11.
What sentence?
One sentence. Watch the movie from the perspective of post 9/11.
Okay.
Right. Chad.
Back to the Future.
Good call.
Roads where we're going. We
Wait.
need
You
roads.
can't even
Yeah,
name
no.
a sentence about your favorite movie.
I don't know.
God. Why do you like it?
I don't have I didn't have a statement prepared like you did. So
I
I quoted the movie. All right. So there we go.
I didn't. That was
Or
prepared.
okay, here's a better one. When this baby hits 88 miles an hour,
That's a
you're
good
gonna
one.
see some serious shit.
I got a video.
I
of-
repeated that when I was a kid and got in trouble sometimes. So.
I got a video. I got a video of going 80 on the freeway next to a DeLorean.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know what
Nice.
happened?
So nothing.
You went to the
What'd you
future.
hit? 88.
Chris, please.
No, it happened.
indulge
I will say this because I will say this because in film school, like people would ask me what my favorite film was, and to me, I didn't have like a one favorite film. There's different films I like for different reasons, but
Cop Out.
Yeah.
no. I'm
Mine
telling you this
changes,
because
so
I
it's
hated this
sometimes.
question. I hated this question in film school because to me I figured that because to me I like so many different movies for so many different reasons. I wouldn't say so many. I'd like a few different movies for a few.
All
different
of
reasons.
life in
But-
existence is a
Cop
longest
Out.
answer
and you have to
Cop
pick one
Out.
movie. What do you
But no, I'm
Cop
picking
Out.
it. But I'm
Okay,
picking it,
okay,
and I'm
okay.
telling you the reason why.
Just pick
I
it.
just wanted to preface
Got
that
it,
because.
Okay.
But no, the movie I love is Friday. I love Friday because
Yeah.
to me it was this like perfect. It was this perfect comedy. It was just like it was supposed to be at the time when these like hood movies were big.
Yeah.
So it was completely different. It still showed the life of like
Minister
living in the hood.
society.
Yeah,
Yeah, boys.
But it was this comedic thing, but it was still real. And so even though some of that life wasn't as fun and funny, it was. This movie was fun and funny, but still depicted that as a real life. You wouldn't want to live there even after you see Friday. You still wouldn't want to live in that neighborhood.
Right.
So that's why that's one of my favorite movies. But that's
And I just want to say my favorite line from that movie. Damn!
I was like, you got knocked the fuck out.
I showed. I had a picture with him with
Oh,
Debo.
that's awesome.
All
At a
right,
film
did you
festival.
say yours?
I didn't, and I just want to say it so I can get the fuck out of here. Because I'm tired, Capers.
Yeah.
It's like 12 o'clock. My favorite is a movie from 1994 called With Honors with Brandon Fraser and Joe Pesci because as far as I'm concerned, they met their best. So
Oh wow!
it's my favorite movie of all time.
Oh.
It kicks everything. It has,
I have not seen that.
It has drama. It has romance. It has heart. It has soul. It has father-son element to it from two people that really did not have a developed father and son relationship in the movie.
Let's watch it in my backyard.
Absolutely. Oh, we should do the background movie for that. That would be, I have the DVD. We should definitely watch that.
I'm down. I'm
Great
down to do it
movie.
soon.
Great movie.
All right, Capers. Well, you have officially sat through. What is it?
Long time.
A long time.
Two-
A groove of time.
2 hours and like 45 minutes of
Oh,
this.
damn near fun. This is fun.
Very true.
This is
Good
fun.
times.
Yeah.
We do this because we have fun with each other on this couch. Soon we're not going to be on this couch anymore. We're going to be at a new location, which we'll tell you
To
all
be
about
determined,
soon.
we'll
The couch is
tell you
being
about it
sold.
soon.
We'll be sitting on the floor.
Well,
And we
it's
do
been
this-
determined, but to be announced, I should say.
And we do this for you. So,
Eh,
hey,
thanks,
Okay,
Alexa.
All right. Till
peace
next time,
out.
Capers.
Capers out.